Chapter 540. Zhao Yanxiang was the first to speed up and quickly disappeared from Ning Cheng and Wan Mingshu's sight. Wan Mingshu did not follow Zhao Yanxiang. Instead, she bowed to Ning Cheng and spoke, "Senior apprentice brother Ning, I'm sorry. I deceived you. My father wanted to cooperate with you because you don't have a celestial wheel and have a powerful spiritual consciousness. He wanted to use you as a blood sacrifice to enter the Perpetual Moon Lake and open the Perpetual Moon Fort." Ning Cheng spoke up in a calm voice, "If that's the case, why did you tell me? When I arrived, you and your companions could use me as a blood sacrifice, wouldn't that solve the problem?" Wan Mingshu took in a deep breath and slowly spoke, "I can't do it. I might not be suitable for the starry skies. If I really did it, I would never forgive myself for the rest of my life. You told me to meet you at Moon Creek, but I ended up cultivating in a place for 2 years. You waited for me for 2 years. Raising her hand to stop Ning Cheng's explanation, Wan Mingshu continued, "You don't have to say anything. I arrived at Moon Creek at the same time you arrived. There is no such coincidence in this world. I know that you have been waiting in Moon Creek. The Time Wilderness is full of opportunities, but you hid in the barren Moon Creek for 2 years. I'm sorry for the 4 words meet you or leave." Ning Cheng, who originally wanted to explain, suddenly lost the desire to explain. Wan Mingshu's words indicated that their cooperation had ended here. Since it ended here, they would only have an ordinary relationship when they met in the future. There was no need for such nonsense. Besides, he had personally heard Wan Mingshu say that she wanted to use him as a blood sacrifice. "It looks like my luck is good and I managed to escape this disaster." Ning Cheng showed a faint smile. He had planned to wait for Zhao Yanxiang and Wan Mingshu to use him as a blood sacrifice, and then use a sneak attack to put the 2 of them in as a blood sacrifice. Ning Cheng did not expect that Wan Mingshu would confess everything in the Perpetual Moon Lake. Wan Mingshu's face turned pale, "Whether you believe it or not, whether you really waited in Moon Creek for 2 years or not, whether you heard the conversation between me and Zhao Yanxiang, I will not use you as a blood sacrifice. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. There is an ancient desolate fort at the bottom of the Perpetual Moon Lake called the Perpetual Moon Fort. To open this fort, you must use a cultivator without a celestial wheel as a blood sacrifice. The cultivator's spiritual consciousness, the better. The better." After entering the Perpetual Moon Fort, Ning Cheng found a Perpetual Moon Pill Pond. Although the pill pond contained Perpetual Moon pills, it also contained a Pill King pill. This medicinal pill was called the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill, a medicinal pill that could allow a Heaven's Mandate cultivator to advance to the heaven-seated realm. Its effects are even better than the filth-severing Cloudy Sky pill, as it doesn't have any impurities. "Did your father ask you to obtain this Celestial River Essence Chi King pill?" Ning Cheng suddenly understood. Wan Mingshu's father, Wan Qingzhong, wanted to advance to the heaven-seated realm. As such, he needed this kind of pill. Wan Mingshu nodded, "Yes, in addition to the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill, I also want a key. This key is called the Perpetual Moon Time Key. Maybe in the Perpetual Moon Castle, this key is the real priceless treasure." "Why are you telling me this?" Ning Cheng stared at Wan Mingshu and asked. Wan Mingshu looked at the distant Perpetual Moon Lake and spoke up, "My father thought that he was the only one who knew about the secrets of the Perpetual Moon Lake, but now there are too many people who know about the secrets of the Perpetual Moon Lake. With my cultivation, wanting to snatch these things is undoubtedly a pipe dream. I'm leaving." After saying that, Wan Mingshu sped up and rushed towards the Perpetual Moon Lake. "Wait, I still owe you a Grade 4 Celestial River Array Disc," Ning Cheng called out. Since they had nothing to do with each other, since he owed her a Grade 4 Celestial River Array Disc, he might as well give her some green coins. Wan Mingshu did not answer, and her figure completely disappeared from the center of the Perpetual Moon Lake. Ning Cheng understood that Wan Mingshu meant to forget about it. Regardless of whether Wan Mingshu wanted to forget about it or not, Ning Cheng did not want to miss out on the perpetual moon pills in the perpetual moon lake. The perpetual moon lake was indeed a huge lake, but it was also a dry lake. There was no water in the lake, only some traces of cracks. There was a huge black hole in the center of the lake, with a slanted staircase extending out from the depths of this black hole. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could clearly see many cultivators inside the black hole. The explosion just now must have originated from this black hole. Zhao Yanxiang and Wan Mingshu were no longer outside, apparently, they had entered the lake. Ning Cheng also followed the slanted staircase into the black hole. More specifically, he arrived at a small public square paved with bluestones. At this time, there were already hundreds of people in the public square. Ning Cheng's arrival did not attract anyone's attention, as everyone was staring at the front. Wan Mingshu and Zhao Yanxiang stood among the crowd. At the end of the bluestone public square, there was a simple castle gate with ripples rotating rapidly in the middle of the gate. A faint bloody smell oozed out from the rotating ripples. Ning Cheng understood that someone must have died as a blood sacrifice. Another cultivator without a celestial wheel. Let's push another person in, wouldn't it be faster? Finally, a cultivator discovered Ning Cheng and immediately called out. Not waiting for the others to look at Ning Cheng, Wan Mingshu's sneering voice arrived. The blood sacrifice can only be performed by one person at most. If there are more, not only would the blood sacrifice fail, but it would also collapse. Wan Mingshu's voice had just fallen when the rapidly rotating castle gate opened with a bang, and a rich starry sky essence chi seeped out from it. Just like the soft color of the moonlight, a huge hall appeared in front of everyone, with a huge pool in front of them. The pool was in the middle of the hall, and inside the pool were pills the size of a dragon's eye, stacked on top of each other, giving off a soft feeling. Perpetual moon pills. A scream erupted, and almost at the same time, everyone rushed inside in a frenzy. Were these perpetual moon pills? Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart. He could feel the benefits of this medicinal pill with his spiritual consciousness. If used for cultivation, it would definitely be much better than any starry sky essence chi or starry sky crystals. Poof poof. Several blood spattered out, and the few cultivators who had just rushed to the side of the perpetual moon pill pond fell from the sky. There's a killing array here. If you want to obtain the perpetual moon pills, you must first break the killing array. A cultivator took the lead and shouted out, while simultaneously bringing out a weapon. Many cultivators brought out their weapons. At this time, everyone could not wait to blow up the killing array and snatch the perpetual moon pills. Ning Cheng was squeezed at the back, but he did not rush up. There were more than 100 people here. No matter how these people tried to snatch it, once the perpetual moon pill pond collapsed, he would at least be able to grab some of the perpetual moon pills. Boom, boom, boom. Countless weapons bombarded the array formation outside the perpetual moon pill pond, triggering bursts of essence chi fluctuations. The killing array outside the perpetual moon pill pond was a natural killing array formed automatically over a long period of time because there were too many perpetual moon pills. Moreover, this killing array did not have a high grade before it fully formed. With so many cultivators attacking at the same time, the killing array quickly collapsed. With the entire perpetual moon pill pond exposed in front of everyone's eyes, at this time, who could snatch it? Why would Ning Cheng care about hiding? Activating the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, Ning Cheng was the first to rush into the perpetual moon pill pond. With a sweep of his spiritual consciousness, he managed to snatch away 1/10 of the perpetual moon pills in the entire pill pond. This pill pond was just too big, and the medicinal pills were separated into pieces. Even with Ning Cheng's powerful spiritual consciousness, he could only snatch away 1/10 of them at a time. Ning Cheng, a cultivator without a celestial wheel, was the first to rush into the perpetual moon pill pond to snatch the perpetual moon pills, which instantly aroused the anger of others. However, at this moment, no one could care about Ning Cheng. Everyone was focused on snatching the perpetual moon pills. Ning Cheng pushed his powerful spiritual consciousness to the extreme, causing his spiritual consciousness to sweep around crazily. By the time the perpetual moon pill pond emptied of perpetual moon pills, Ning Cheng had already snatched away about 40% of the perpetual moon pills. Kill him. After snatching the perpetual moon pills, all the cultivators rushed towards Ning Cheng. This was also the reason why no one cared about Ning Cheng snatching a large number of perpetual moon pills. All the cultivators knew that no matter how much Ning Cheng snatched, he would not be able to escape. Dozens of weapons shot towards Ning Cheng, and the place where Ning Cheng stood instantly transformed into a celestial essence vortex. With so many weapons shooting towards him, it had already locked down the area where he stood using celestial essence. When Ning Cheng snatched 40% of the perpetual moon pills, he realized that he had become the target of public criticism. Almost at the same time when so many weapons shot towards him, Ning Cheng stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and rushed towards the steps leading to the outside. Bang! A strong resistance pushed Ning Cheng back. Ning Cheng's heart sank. He did not think that someone would have arranged an entrapment formation at the exit in advance. From this, he understood that someone had already planned to catch them all in one fell swoop. He was just unlucky to be the first to escape and ended up being stopped. Boom! Because Ning Cheng had used the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to escape, the weapons attacking Ning Cheng all ended up hitting a corner of the perpetual moon pill pond. This time, the perpetual moon pill pond trembled and shook. It felt as if the perpetual moon pill pond would collapse in the next moment. However, at this time, no one paid any attention to the perpetual moon pill pond. All the people had once again surrounded Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng quickly spoke up, someone used an array formation to seal off the way out. This means that we all have to stay in here. If you continue to attack me, you will end up being killed by someone else. Boom boom boom. More than a dozen weapons still shot towards Ning Cheng. Some even shouted out that Ning Cheng had the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. Ning Cheng once again stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds and dodged from a distance. The space in this place was already very small. If Ning Cheng did not have the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, he would not have been able to escape. However, Ning Cheng's words seemed to have worked. Some of the cultivators, who had obtained a lot of perpetual moon pills, gave up on attacking Ning Cheng and instead wanted to get out. As a result, just as Ning Cheng said, the exit had been sealed. The exit really has been sealed. A cultivator shouted out. His shout immediately caused the cultivators who were still chasing after Ning Cheng to stop. Another violent roar sounded out, and the perpetual moon pill pond, which had been trembling due to the bombardment, suddenly collapsed completely. A pale golden pill the size of an egg was pushed out of the pond and rushed towards the top of the hall. It's the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill. With the appearance of the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill, almost everyone forgot about the sealed exit and forgot about chasing after Ning Cheng. At this time, the cultivators here only had one purpose, to snatch the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill. Chapter 541. Ning Cheng did not try to snatch the Celestial River Essence Chi King pill. One reason was that he knew that even if he managed to snatch this King pill, he would still face a siege. Another reason was that he did not need this King pill right now. With so many perpetual moon pills in hand, the first thing he wanted to do was to find a place to cultivate. Want to leave? I've been waiting for you for a long time. Ning Cheng was just about to break the array formation sealing the entrance when a sharp voice arrived in his ears. The moment he heard the voice, a black light appeared in front of him without any warning. Ning Cheng's domain stretched out in an instant, and the black light immediately slowed down under Ning Cheng's domain. Ning Cheng's domain won him the blink of an eye, allowing Ning Cheng to bring out his nirvana spear and blow away the black light. What a powerful domain! The sharp voice exclaimed, and the violent celestial essence once again stirred up the surrounding space. Ning Cheng had just seen the appearance of the cultivator who sneaked up on him when he heard a violent explosion, and everything in front of him turned gray. The cultivator who sneaked up on him did not continue to attack Ning Cheng. Instead, he grabbed an array disc, and his figure flashed before disappearing from Ning Cheng's sight. What was the problem? This fellow actually gave up on sneaking up on him and escaped first. He even took away his array disc. Didn't this mean that he did not want to stop the cultivators inside? Ning Cheng had just thought of this when he felt like he was surrounded by time. His life flowed away like a river without a dam. Who broke the perpetual moon fort's time wheel? Hurry up, or we'll all die. A shout rang out, and then a ray of light rushed out from Ning Cheng's side. The reason why Ning Cheng did not rush out immediately was that the moment he felt his life slipping away, his spiritual consciousness saw a half-foot-long key. It was a dark gray key, suspended above the broken perpetual moon pill lake and slowly becoming clearer. If not for his powerful spiritual consciousness, he would not have been able to see this key at all. This was the perpetual moon time key. Wuan Mingshu said that the most precious thing in the perpetual moon fort was the perpetual moon time key. Ning Cheng did not even think about it, and with a wave of the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, he flashed past. At this moment, all the cultivators rushed out of the perpetual moon fort, except for Ning Cheng. Some of the cultivators had white hair before they could even reach the entrance. There were even some cultivators whose lifespans ran out midway, falling from the sky and dying on the spot. The moment Ning Cheng grabbed the perpetual moon time key, his hair started to turn white. Not waiting for him to wield the twin wings of the heavenly clouds again, the terrifying flow of time completely surrounded him. At this moment, Ning Cheng knew that if he continued to rush out, he would also die of old age in this short stretch of road. Ning Cheng did not hesitate, and immediately entered the mysterious yellow bead. No matter how terrifying the flow of time was, it could not penetrate into Ning Cheng's mysterious yellow bead. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out and found that his hair had turned gray, causing him to feel horrified in his heart. The laws of time were simply too terrifying. How long had it been? He had already consumed so much of his lifespan. Desperately trying to obtain this perpetual moon time key, was it worth it? Ning Cheng had just entered the mysterious yellow bead when the bottom of the perpetual moon lake collapsed, causing endless explosions to erupt in the center of the perpetual moon lake. The entire perpetual moon lake, under the terrifying explosion, turned into dust. Dozens of cultivators who managed to escape from the bottom of the perpetual moon lake stood by the lakeside and looked at the perpetual moon lake that had completely disappeared. Everyone knew that the cultivators who had not come out were finished. Even if they were not taken away by the terrifying flow of time, the explosions at the bottom of the perpetual moon lake would definitely turn them into ashes. This kind of explosion was mixed with the laws of time. Not to mention a celestial scryer cultivator, even if a celestial river cultivator came, what could they do? Wuan Mingshu stood by the lakeside and stared at the disappearing perpetual moon lake. She did not expect that Ning Cheng would end up dying in the perpetual moon lake. Junior apprentice Sister Mingshu, let's go. Zhao Yanxiang came over and interrupted Wuan Mingshu's thoughts. Wuan Mingshu glanced at Zhao Yanxiang and spoke with a faint voice, Senior apprentice brother Zhao, the cooperation is over. We no longer have anything to do with each other. Let's go our separate ways, not together. That Ning Cheng was too greedy and ended up being taken away by the flow of time. It was something that couldn't be helped. Don't think too much about it. After all, you don't owe him anything. Zhao Yanxiang felt comfortable about Ning Cheng dying in the perpetual moon fort. He had only lost some of his lifespan, and the perpetual moon pills he obtained could easily make up for the lost cultivation. Wuan Mingshu spoke up calmly, whether senior apprentice brother Ning died or not, it has nothing to do with us. Senior apprentice brother Zhao, if you don't want others to know about it, then don't do it yourself. You provoked Lu Xiao to attack Ning Cheng, I'm not the only one who knows about it. After Wan Mingshu finished, she instantly changed directions and left the perpetual moon lake. Seeing the explosions at the center of the perpetual moon lake gradually subsiding, several cultivators who were unwilling to leave wanted to go and take a look. However, before they could reach the center of the lake, the terrifying flow of time once again swept away a part of their lifespan. These cultivators immediately fled, and in just a short time, not a single person could be seen at the edge of the perpetual moon lake. As Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, he immediately knew that something had happened to the perpetual moon fort. With the violent explosions raging around, he could not get out at all. What's more, even without these explosions, he could not get out. The terrifying flow of time would take away his lifespan in an instant. Ning Cheng looked at the perpetual moon time key in his hand. It was a half-foot-long key with a variety of restrictions engraved all over it. Despite looking at it for a long time, Ning Cheng could not see anything. Putting the key into his ring, Ning Cheng arranged a 5 elements array formation around him. His mysterious yellow bead's origin was not complete, as such, anything that entered the mysterious yellow bead would turn into nothingness after a long time. The 5 elements array formation would also turn into nothingness, however, the things inside the 5 elements array formation did not have much of an impact. Initially, Ning Cheng thought that the flow of time outside would soon dissipate. But after observing it for a few days, Ning Cheng realized that the flow of time outside would not disappear so quickly. Although the explosions outside due to the compression of time had indeed disappeared, the flow of time remained the same. As soon as his spiritual consciousness swept out, it immediately disappeared without a trace. Under this terrifying flow of time, not to mention people, even spiritual consciousness could not survive. This rapid flow of time made Ning Cheng afraid to go out. He feared that once he went out, he would immediately be taken away by the flow of time. At this time, Ning Cheng could only stay inside the mysterious yellow bead and continue to arrange his 5 elements array formation. 10 days passed by, 1 month passed by, 3 months passed by. Ning Cheng slowly calmed down from his anxiety. Instead of waiting anxiously, it was better to arrange the 5 elements array formation and study the Tao of Arrays jade strip given to him by Tang Yu. Another 3 months passed by, and Ning Cheng's Tao of Arrays advanced from a Grade 1 Celestial Array Master to a Grade 2 Celestial Array Master. However, the flow of time outside still did not stop. Ning Cheng began to carefully control the movement of the mysterious yellow bead. He believed that under this terrifying flow of time, it was absolutely impossible for any cultivators to come here. Even their spiritual consciousness would not be able to sweep in. As long as no cultivators came here, his mysterious yellow bead would not be exposed. To control the movement of the mysterious yellow bead, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had to constantly permeate out. Under this flow of time, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness would disappear the moment it went out. Initially, Ning Cheng, in order to protect himself, was very careful when he permeated out his spiritual consciousness. However, in the end, Ning Cheng completely ignored this caution and continued to permeate out his spiritual consciousness. At this point, he no longer wanted to control the mysterious yellow bead. Instead, under the rapid passage of time, he touched upon a law that could not be expressed in words. Ning Cheng suppressed the ecstasy in his heart. He felt sure that this was a feeling brought about by the passage of time. He knew that even eternal-level experts might not be able to comprehend the laws of time. Moreover, the laws of time were far stronger than ordinary laws. He had never expected himself to comprehend the laws of time. But now that he could touch the surface of this law, he felt very satisfied. Even if his spiritual consciousness was consumed, even if his lifespan was reduced, this touch would bring him immeasurable benefits in the future. Not knowing for how long, Ning Cheng's perception came to an abrupt halt. His spiritual consciousness fell outside the mysterious yellow bead and no longer felt the flow of time. Ning Cheng's eyes showed extreme disappointment. He knew that this was not because he had comprehended the laws of time, but because the flow of time outside had finally stopped. Ning Cheng came out of the mysterious yellow bead and swept out with his spiritual consciousness to the surrounding ruins. This place seemed like an ordinary place, and he was just buried in this ordinary ground. The perpetual moon fort had disappeared, and the perpetual moon lake had disappeared. He had no idea where the celestial river essence Qi King pill went, or perhaps someone had taken it away. This was not a place to stay for a long time, he had to leave as soon as possible. Ning Cheng had just thought of this when his spiritual consciousness stopped once again. His spiritual consciousness once again found something that allowed him to touch upon time. It was not a kind of passage of time, but a kind of stone. 3 dark gray stones appeared in the range of his spiritual consciousness, not far from him. Ning Cheng immediately rushed over and grabbed the 3 stones in his hand. The feeling of the passage of time, or perhaps the vicissitudes of life, once again touched him. These must be time stones. Ning Cheng's heart started to beat wildly. He quickly took out 3 empty jade boxes and put the 3 time stones inside. Time stones were extremely precious. Ning Cheng had entered the time wilderness for 3 years, but this was the first time he saw a time stone. After Ning Cheng put away the 3 time stones, his spiritual consciousness once again started searching around. To his regret, his luck seemed to have run out, as he could not find a single time stone in this place. Since the passage of time had disappeared, sooner or later, someone would find this place. Ning Cheng came out of the ground and quickly rushed out, quickly disappearing from the outside of the perpetual moon lake. Half a month later, Ning Cheng stopped in a barren gravel field. He put on the middle-grade Dao artifact mask and once again transformed into a bearded starry skies wanderer. The original Ning Cheng had already died in the perpetual moon fort. Even if he wanted to appear again, he would need to change his identity, otherwise, it would bring him endless troubles. After changing his appearance, Ning Cheng was about to dig an immortal cave and try out the effects of the perpetual moon pill when his spiritual consciousness unexpectedly found Shen Qinyu. However, Shen Qinyu's situation was obviously not good. She was lying on a stone, gasping for breath, while her body was covered in blood. Chapter 542. He and Shen Qinyu had an agreement, and Shen Qinyu had invited him to help her in this place. However, he had not received any message from Shen Qinyu. Ning Cheng did not expect to see this woman again, but found her injured. Just when Ning Cheng hesitated to go over, his spiritual consciousness swept over a man and a woman. The two of them also suffered some minor injuries, however, from the looks of it, they seemed to be chasing after Shen Qinyu. Shen Qinyu lay on the stone for a moment before rushing over to Ning Cheng's side. Ning Cheng had to come out of the thistles forest. Shen Qinyu had helped him a few times in the past, so helping her today was not a big deal. However, he felt a little strange in his heart. Shen Qinyu's strength was not low, and she even had a talisman that could force back celestial bridge cultivators. So how could she escape from 2 celestial gatherer cultivators? Ning Cheng's sudden appearance in front of her made Shen Qinyu stop. By the time she found out that Ning Cheng was not the one blocking her, the man and woman had already caught up to her. The man and woman only glanced at Ning Cheng before focusing their attention on Shen Qinyu. Apparently, the two of them did not put Ning Cheng in their eyes. Ning Cheng was a cultivator with white hair and a face filled with vicissitudes of life, without even a single celestial wheel. With just a glance, one could tell that he was a rogue cultivator who had lived a miserable life. Such a person, they could kill him with just a raise of their hand. Yifeng, you go kill that ant. I'll keep an eye on that woman. She can't escape. The long-haired woman glanced at Ning Cheng and did not hesitate to sentence Ning Cheng to death. Okay. The male cultivator responded, and a red ring appeared suspended over his head. Shen Qinyu suddenly shouted, "Stop, this matter has nothing to do with others. After saying that, Shen Qinyu turned to Ning Cheng and spoke, "You can leave. This has nothing to do with you." "Leave? Can you even leave?" The male cultivator's triangular eyes narrowed, and the red ring over his head turned into thousands of ring shadows that covered Ning Cheng. As these thousands of ring shadows descended, the surrounding space turned completely red, and a powerful binding force enveloped Ning Cheng, making it difficult to breathe. If replaced by Ning Cheng, who had just advanced to the celestial novice realm, he would have desperately torn apart this red ring space and tried to find a way to escape. However, after experiencing many battles, Ning Cheng had long since understood that this was only a means to support one's domain. Compared to his celestial river domain, it was far inferior. Ning Cheng opened his hand and brought out the Nirvana spear. At the same time, a powerful celestial river domain erupted from it. The celestial river domain immediately blocked off the space created by the red ring created by the male cultivator's red ring, and an invisible "Kacha" sound rang out. Everyone around could hear it clearly. This was an obvious domain suppression. At this moment, how could this male cultivator not know that Ning Cheng was an expert? In a panic, he raised his hands and shot out dozens of talismans. Such a rich guy, Ning Cheng himself had also used talismans against his enemies. He knew that the person who used so many talismans against the enemy was either a rich guy or a talisman grandmaster. Although Ning Cheng had not refined any talismans after advancing to the celestial scryer realm, he had a good understanding of talismans. Although the attacks from these talismans looked terrifying, the truth was that these talismans were not high-grade goods. The best way was to bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder City and then shoot out with the Nirvana Spear. It's just that the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort had a lot to do with it. Therefore, Ning Cheng didn't bring out the everlasting Blue Thunder Fort. Instead, he once again stimulated his celestial river domain. The celestial river domain transformed from a flat surface to a three-dimensional one without any gaps. Compared to Ning Cheng's domain, the male cultivator's domain was not just a level lower. Therefore, when Ning Cheng fully stimulated his domain to attack, the raging celestial river flames within the domain could no longer be hidden. When the flames and the dozen talismans collided, they immediately exploded. Boom boom boom. The explosions of the talismans, the burning of the flames, and the horrifying temperature turned the entire area into a sea of fire. Ning Cheng brought out the Nirvana spear and drew out a mysterious spear line along with a hint of thunder before shooting out. The triangular-eyed male cultivator felt shocked when he saw Ning Cheng's celestial river domain blocking his endless talismans. However, before he could bring out a weapon to attack Ning Cheng again, Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear had already arrived in front of him. Even when his red ring domain was completely suppressed by Ning Cheng's celestial river domain, he could not stop the terrifying spear intent of this spear. Kacha. The celestial essence shield in front of the triangular-eyed male cultivator, under Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear intent, shattered like a piece of paper. The male cultivator only had enough time to move his head a little, but he still could not stop Ning Cheng's Nirvana spear from piercing through his head. "You clan will not let you go." The male cultivator screamed out before Ning Cheng's spear exploded and killed him. Ning Cheng felt very satisfied with his series of attacks. First, he used his celestial river domain to completely suppress the opponent's domain. Even the opponent's talismans were suppressed by the celestial river domain. Then, he used his Nirvana spear to kill the opponent. After the continuous battles, the Tao Discussion Convention, and his own secluded cultivation, Ning Cheng's attacks finally had an embryonic form. If this male cultivator, whom he killed, knew that he had not even used his full strength, Ning Cheng could not imagine what he would think. In fact, Ning Cheng knew that he had not even brought out half of his strength. Not to mention that he had not even used his two killing moves, the nothingness flame patterned spear and traceless. He had not even brought out the wishful demon axe, let alone the everlasting Blue Thunder City. At this moment, Ning Cheng felt an urgent need to fight Lu Pingchuan. He wanted to use his celestial shatterer cultivation to kill this self-righteous genius. Ah! The female cultivator staring at Shen Qinyu also reacted. She screamed and suddenly brought out an escape talisman. In just a blink of an eye, she disappeared without a trace. Ning Cheng looked at the fluctuating space in front of him and thought to himself, this man and woman have so many talismans. Shen Qinyu also felt shocked at Ning Cheng's strength. A cultivator without a celestial wheel, at most a celestial novice cultivator, how could he be so terrifying? She immediately thought of Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng also did not have a celestial wheel, however, Ning Cheng was not as powerful as this rogue cultivator named Wanderer. It was just that her injuries were too severe at this moment, and she could only lie down on the ground and gasp for breath. Are you okay? Ning Cheng walked up to Shen Qinyu and asked. Shen Qinyu did not answer Ning Cheng's question. Instead, she looked at Ning Cheng and spoke, I know who you are. Ning Cheng felt surprised in his heart. He did not reveal even half a shred of his aura. How did Shen Qinyu recognize him? If Shen Qinyu could recognize him, didn't it mean that others could also recognize him? You are called Wanderer, and had once stayed in the celestial forest arena of the revolving Jade City for a while. Unfortunately, I had something to do at that time and could not go and watch your fight. Thank you for saving me. My name is Shen Qinyu. Shen Qinyu spoke after a few gasps. Ning Cheng felt slightly relieved in his heart. He thought that Shen Qinyu had really recognized him. In fact, if not for Shen Qinyu's broken meridians, which prevented her from releasing out her spiritual consciousness, as well as the celestial river flame in Ning Cheng's domain, Shen Qinyu would have already recognized Ning Cheng. That's right, I am indeed that starry skies wanderer. If you have nothing else to say, then I will take my leave. Ning Cheng had a lot of things to take care of right now. He needed some time to go into seclusion. Shen Qinyu quickly spoke up, wait, I need your help. My meridians are broken, I need to find a place to heal. Ning Cheng felt shocked in his heart. Broken meridians, this was not a minor injury. Even if he had the mysterious yellow origin, which could repair his meridians, this kind of injury was still a serious injury for him, not to mention Shen Qinyu. Seeing that Shen Qinyu wanted to continue speaking, Ning Cheng knew that she wanted to talk about the remuneration. Ning Cheng waved his hand and spoke, I'll take you to a place to heal. We can talk about it later. Thank you. Shen Qinyu did not refuse Ning Cheng's help. She knew that she had no other choice. If this wanderer in front of her wanted to harm her in the slightest, she would not be able to refuse him. Ning Cheng stepped forward and picked up Shen Qinyu. Unfolding his body, he quickly left. Shen Qinyu, on seeing that Ning Cheng had only supported her back and legs, felt slightly relaxed in her heart. At the same time, she also felt very grateful towards Ning Cheng. If Ning Cheng wanted to carry her on his back or hug her, she would not have any way to refuse. Ning Cheng obviously took into account her identity as a female cultivator. At this moment, Shen Qinyu secretly rejoiced in her heart. Fortunately, she had a mask-type weapon. A day later, Ning Cheng brought Shen Qinyu to a barren hill and dug out a small immortal cave in it. The immortal cave had 2 cultivation rooms, one for him and one for Shen Qinyu. Shen Qinyu's meridians were currently broken. If she had to recover in this place alone, it would definitely be dangerous for her. You are a different kind of starry skies wanderer. Shen Qinyu sat on the bed that Ning Cheng had brought out and spoke up once again with gratitude. Because starry skies wanderers were always on the verge of death, it resulted in most starry skies wanderers having a perverse and irritable temperament. However, Ning Cheng not only saved her, but also took her to a quiet place to heal. This showed that he was indeed a different kind of starry skies wanderer. Ning Cheng showed a slight smile and spoke, I'm going into seclusion here for a while. If you need my help, you can call me. Thank you. After you go out, be careful of the Yu clan. Shen Qinyu, on seeing Ning Cheng not asking anything, felt even more favorable towards Ning Cheng. Ning Cheng quickly asked, "Was that triangular-eyed fellow I killed from the Yu clan? What are their origins? Why should I be careful of the Yu clan?" Shen Qinyu spoke up slowly. The Yu clan is a very famous talisman family within the striking order Starry Skies. The Yu clan's talismans are very famous. One can even say that all the powerful talismans within the striking order Starry Skies originate from the Yu clan. Moreover, in addition to talismans, the Yu clan also possesses amazing strength. They even have a Starry Skies cultivator in the Heaven's Mandate realm. The planet they live on is called the Dai Yuan star, and the celestial lord of this planet is a member of the Yu clan. The male cultivator you killed before is called Yuifeng, and the woman who escaped is called Yuan. The two of them are cousins and are also husband and wife. The Yu clan believes that their bloodline is the purest and rarely intermarry with people with other surnames. As long as this woman can get out of here alive, the Yu clan will definitely put you on the wanted list. Because of the powerful contribution of the Yu clan in the field of talismans, even Heavenly Emperor Striking Order looks at the Yu clan in a different light. If the Yu clan puts you on the wanted list, no one would care about it. Ning Cheng did not take Shen Qinyu's words to heart. Besides, after coming out of the time wilderness, Ning Cheng planned to leave the Striking Order Starry Skies and explore the vast world. If he wanted to return to the place he wanted to go, even if it was not too far away, he had to go further. Ning Cheng was very clear about this truth and understood it very well. Chapter 543. Ning Cheng did not cultivate. Although he obtained a lot of perpetual moon pills, he did not want to cultivate with Shen Qinyu. Perpetual moon pills contain pure Starry Sky essence qi. Therefore, once he used perpetual moon pills for cultivation, he felt sure that Shen Qinyu would be able to detect it. For the past 2 months, Ning Cheng had been studying array formations. He had been constantly arranging 5-element array formations in the mysterious yellow bead, with only one purpose, to store the time stones. If he hadn't seen the time stone, then it would have been fine. But now that Ning Cheng saw the time stone and obtained it, how could he not know that this thing was many times more precious than the fire origin crystals? Only a fool would take out such a good thing and hand it over to Striking Order Heavenly Emperor. In the future, Ning Cheng also hoped to use the time stone in his hand to pry into the mysteries of the laws of time. 2 months later, after Ning Cheng became a Grade 3 Celestial Array Master, he did not continue to study array formations. For him, it was time to find a place to go into secluded cultivation. With so many perpetual moon pills, he estimated that his cultivation should be able to rise to another level. "Have you recovered?" Ning Cheng opened the restrictions covering the immortal cave and looked at Shen Qinyu, who had already come out of the immortal cave, in surprise. Meridians ruptured, it was definitely a serious injury. However, Shen Qinyu managed to recover so easily. From this, one could tell that Shen Qinyu had a powerful trump card. Shen Qinyu nodded and spoke, "I have indeed recovered and wanted to discuss something with you." Ning Cheng invited Shen Qinyu into his immortal cave and asked, "What's the matter? Please tell me, I'm also planning to leave this place. Your cultivation method is quite special, it does not even have a celestial wheel." Shen Qinyu unexpectedly spoke out an irrelevant sentence. Ning Cheng showed a faint smile, "I also have a celestial wheel, but I hid it." Hidden celestial wheels. Shen Qinyu's eyes flashed with surprise, before she smiled and spoke, "Do you know about the Sea of Twilight?" "I've heard of it." Ning Cheng nodded. The stupid cow in his ring had escaped from the Sea of Twilight, moreover its first owner had also fallen in the Sea of Twilight. The Sea of Twilight has 2 extremely precious things. One is the Twilight Sand, and the other is the Time Stone. Shen Qinyu said. "I have heard of Time Stones, but what is this Twilight Sand?" Ning Cheng quickly asked, "The previous owner of this stupid cow had also fallen in the Sea of Twilight, was it because of the Twilight Sand?" Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Cheng and spoke, this is what I wanted to discuss with you. Twilight sand is one of the best artifact crafting materials within the starry skies. One could even say that it is the best artifact crafting material within the striking order starry skies. Every single pellet was a priceless treasure. It was said that magic treasures refined from this kind of material carried faint time laws and were incomparably powerful. Many starry skies in the universe knew about the striking order starry skies because of the twilight sand. Many of the cultivators who came in wanted to go to the Sea of Twilight to get the twilight sand. Ning Cheng's heart immediately moved. With the growth of his cultivation, his Nirvana spear obviously could not be used as a common weapon. He needed a spear that truly belonged to him. He had a material that even Song Wei did not know about. If he added the twilight sand into the mix, then in the future he would be able to refine a long spear. It would definitely be extraordinary. He had the time stones, and Ning Cheng believed that one day, he would eventually touch upon the laws of time. If he touched the law of time and obtained a spear with the law of time, then what? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng's eyes flashed with passion. Ning Cheng's passion and eagerness, Shen Qinyu immediately saw through it. She suddenly spoke up, "Senior apprentice brother Wanderer, I know that you have extraordinary skills, but we can cooperate. I have some understanding of the Sea of Twilight. Let's go to the Sea of Twilight together and look for the twilight sand and time stones. What can I help you with?" Ning Cheng asked. Shen Qinyu gave a sigh and spoke, "I found a very good partner. He has a strange heaven and earth flame. If we could contact him, then our chances of success would increase by 20%. However, after I came in, I tried to contact him. Even after trying for 2 years, I still could not get any news from him. Later, I lost my communication pearl, and could not contact him at all. The time wilderness is filled with dangers. Besides that flame, his cultivation can only be regarded as average. I'm afraid that I might not be able to make it out alive." Ning Cheng then realized that Shen Qinyu had contacted him more than once. Should he tell Shen Qinyu about his identity? Ning Cheng quickly discarded this idea. Once he told Shen Qinyu about his identity, it would mean that the news of him not dying after entering the perpetual moon lake would come to light. Moreover, he and Shen Qinyu were not familiar with each other. However, what made Ning Cheng wonder was how did Shen Qinyu know that he had a flame? Did Shen Qinyu discover the celestial river hidden in his domain 2 months ago? If that was the case, then Shen Qinyu's spiritual consciousness must be very powerful. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng asked, "I heard that heaven and earth flames are very difficult to obtain. Are you sure that your friend has this flame? Moreover, why does the Sea of Twilight need this flame?" "I'm sure. I've met him before, and we came here together from the Orchid Burrow Celestial River. The Orchid Burrow Celestial River's battleship encountered the starry sky's spirit-devouring rat tide. The moment I left, I saw him using the flame to open a path. As for why the Sea of Twilight needs this flame, I'm not very clear about it. I just heard from the information I obtained that with this flame, the chances of success would be much higher." Shen Qinyu answered Ning Cheng's words in a very serious manner. From this, it could be seen that she had been thinking about cooperating with Ning Cheng for a long time. Ning Cheng immediately understood that when he used the flame to escape, Shen Qinyu had unexpectedly seen it. From Shen Qinyu's words, he understood that Shen Qinyu had only seen him using the flame to burn the spirit-devouring rats, and had not seen him using the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, which made him feel slightly relieved. "All right, I agree to cooperate with you. However, you have to tell me some basic information about the Sea of Twilight, and—" "That's right, I want to ask you a question." Ning Cheng seemed to have thought of something and suddenly asked. Shen Qinyu, on hearing that Ning Cheng was willing to cooperate, felt her heart loosen up. Since she could not contact Ning Cheng, then the chances of her going to the Sea of Twilight by herself were very slim. "You can ask. As long as I know it, I will definitely tell you." Shen Qinyu replied with a very happy tone. Even if Ning Qing did not want to cooperate with her, Ning Qing had still saved her life. As such, she would definitely answer some of the questions that she knew about Ning Qing. Ning Qing spoke with an awkward tone, "Because I am a rogue cultivator, I do not have a master, and have been wandering the starry skies for a long time. As such, there are some questions that I do not understand when it comes to cultivation." When Shen Qinyu heard that it was a question related to cultivation, she showed a smile and spoke, "It doesn't matter. Although my cultivation is not high, I have been exposed to a variety of cultivation systems since I was a child. Although I might not be able to answer some of the more profound questions, I can still discuss some of the ordinary questions with you." Okay. Ning Qing no longer remained polite. "After I advanced to the celestial Shatterer realm many years ago, there was no thunder tribulation. What is going on?" Ning Qing did not say that he advanced to the celestial Shatterer realm in the time wilderness. He believed that even if he advanced in the time wilderness, a thunder tribulation should have descended. Shen Qinyu, on hearing Ning Qing's words, stared at Ning Qing for a while without speaking. Ning Qing could see some pity in Shen Qinyu's eyes and an indescribable feeling. He spoke up with some embarrassment, "If it's not easy to answer, then forget it. It's not a big deal." When Shen Qinyu heard Ning Qing's question, she couldn't help but feel a little sad in her heart. Compared to this starry skies wanderer's poor cultivation knowledge, her cultivation knowledge could be described as luxurious and rich. "Do you have few friends and rarely go to parties?" Shen Qinyu's tone turned incomparably soft. Ning Qing could also feel the change in Shen Qinyu's tone. From the tone of a friend, it had changed to that of an incomparably gentle big sister next door. Although he did not know what Shen Qinyu meant, Ning Qing still gave an "n" sound and spoke, "Yes, I am a starry skies wanderer. I have always been exploring my own path, and do not have any friends." Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Qing and spoke up with an even softer gaze, "The truth is that from the celestial novice realm to the celestial shatterer realm and then to the celestial gatherer realm, there is no thunder tribulation. Only when advancing from the celestial gatherer realm to the celestial bridge realm would a thunder tribulation appear. Similarly, there was no thunder tribulation within the three realms of the Star River realm. Only when advancing from the Heaven's Mandate realm to the Heaven-seated realm would there be a thunder tribulation. Moreover, this lightning tribulation was extremely terrifying. If one was not careful, they would die. But after the Sky realm, every time you advance, there will be a powerful thunder tribulation." Ning Qing felt countless alpacas galloping in his heart. He finally understood why Shen Qinyu looked at him with such a sympathetic and soft gaze. This was something that even a 3-year-old child would know, yet he actually asked Shen Qinyu about it. He was a celestial shatterer cultivator, yet he did not even know about the existence of a thunder tribulation. "In fact, I think you are the truly amazing one. Without any guidance, you managed to cultivate to the celestial shatterer realm by yourself. Even ordinary geniuses would not dare to compare to you." Apparently seeing Ning Qing's awkward expression, Shen Qinyu took the initiative to comfort him. Similarly, she also understood why Ning Qing did not have a celestial wheel. It was definitely not because Ning Qing had concealed his celestial wheel, but because Ning Qing had figured out his cultivation method by himself. It was already a great fortune for him to cultivate to the celestial shatterer realm without suffering from cultivation deviation. How could he dare to have a celestial wheel? She did not doubt Ning Qing's combat prowess. Starry skies wanderers generally had powerful combat prowess. Moreover, Ning Qing had already proven his formidable combat prowess in the celestial forest arena. "Can you tell me what are the three realms of the celestial river realm?" Ning Qing's words interrupted Shen Qinyu's thoughts. Since he had already asked such a ridiculous question, he might as well ask a few more. Shen Qinyu carefully explained to Ning Qing, "The three realms of the celestial scryer realm are when a cultivator crosses the nirvana tribulation, transforming their true essence into celestial essence, which then forms a celestial wheel. According to the strength of one's celestial essence, it is divided into three realms." I won't talk about it, but you must have already understood a bit about it. The first realm of the three realms of the Celestial River realm is the Celestial Bridge. When the celestial wheel starts to fuse, it forms a celestial bridge cultivator. At the same time, a celestial bridge cultivator's comprehension ability and spirit techniques would greatly increase. Moreover, the more powerful the celestial bridge, the more powerful the celestial essence support. When a cultivator cultivates to the point that their body is damaged and can regenerate, they would then enter the undead realm. Cultivators in the undead realm are divided into strong and weak. However, even the most powerful cultivator in the undead realm would need a corporeal body to regenerate. As for cultivators in the Heaven's Mandate realm, they would be able to glimpse a trace of their own destiny. Heaven's Mandate cultivators are the highest realm in the Celestial River realm. Chapter 544. Good. Within the Sea of Twilight, one's spiritual consciousness can only extend within a radius of 3 feet. Let's stick close to each other and not get separated. Shen Qinyu finished, before taking the first step into the Sea of Twilight. After the two walked for an hour within the Sea of Twilight, Shen Qinyu was just about to let go of Ning Cheng's hand when she heard Ning Cheng speak up. There seems to be a time stone in front of us. I can feel the flow of time. Ning Cheng pulled up Shen Qinyu, who was sitting on the ground, and looked at her ragged appearance, before speaking up in an apologetic voice, I'm sorry, I didn't know that we couldn't fly in this place. At the same time, Shen Qinyu's voice once again arrived, don't let go of my hand for the time being. You have not yet adapted to the Sea of Twilight. Once you let go of my hand, we might end up losing each other. Junior apprentice Sister Shen, are you also representing the Orchid Burrow Celestial River? Half a day later, Ning Cheng asked all the questions he wanted to ask and took the initiative to change the topic. Shen Qinyu showed a faint smile. Even if Striking Order Holy Emperor cultivated for another 1,000,000 years, he would still not be able to stand side by side with the Perpetual Moon Holy Emperor. Even if they were both Heavenly Emperors, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor still lagged behind. Within the vast starry skies, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor didn't count for much. If not for Striking Order Starry Sky's poverty, Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's Striking Order Starry Sky would have already changed its name. What is the value of the Perpetual Moontime Key? Ning Cheng quickly asked. This was what he cared about the most. The Perpetual Moontime Key was in his ring, but he had no idea what was so precious about it. Ning Cheng felt shocked, he did not know what was going on. He quickly reached out and pulled Shen Qinyu closer, wanting to let her fall to the ground. Shen Qinyu shook her head, I don't know. I only know that it was left behind by the Perpetual Moon Holy Emperor. Just like the Time Wilderness, it also belongs to the Perpetual Moon Holy Emperor. Shen Qinyu showed a smile, no, I came to the Orchid Burrow Celestial River to enter the Time Wilderness. In fact, there are many cultivators like me who came from other starry skies. I entered the Time Wilderness for 2 things, the most important of which is the Perpetual Moontime Key. Of course. Ning Cheng gave a calm smile. Riches and honor came from danger. This sentence was equally applicable to Starry Skies cultivators. This is the deepest part of the Sea of Twilight. No one can come here by themselves. The cultivators who can come to this place were all sucked in by the time maelstrom. As such, it is absolutely impossible for them to get out. In Ning Cheng's impression, Shen Qinyu, who had always been relatively calm, spoke with a trembling voice. From this, one could tell that she feared the depths of the Sea of Twilight. Shen Qinyu's trembling voice arrived, we can no longer get out. Ning Cheng did not hesitate and followed Shen Qinyu inside. He quickly discovered that his spiritual consciousness did not have a range of only 3 feet like what Shen Qinyu had said. Rather, his spiritual consciousness encompassed a radius of 10 miles. Shen Qinyu, on the other hand, did not show even half a shred of impatience. Instead, she still spoke in a soft tone, that's right. The venue for the finals is called Grand Culmination Starry Skies. In our positional plane, Grand Culmination Starry Skies is one of the 4 Grand Starry Skies and also the central location of the entire Grand Culmination Starry Skies. Don't fly up. Ning Cheng heard Shinchinyu's screams, while at the same time, he saw a burst of light erupt from the place where he had just stood. If he had been just a little bit slower, he would have been ambushed by this ball of light. What about the 3 realms of destiny? Ning Cheng was like a studious student. Thank you. After Ning Cheng replied with 2 words, he was just about to pull out his hand when he found that Shinchinyu's hand was still holding on to his. After that, she looked up at Ning Cheng. The fear on her face had already disappeared, and even her voice did not tremble like before. You don't have to feel guilty. I didn't explain it clearly. I was the one who encouraged you to come here. In this place, there is no way to get out. If the 2 of us were to talk, then maybe we could die a little easier. Shinchinyu once again tore off a strip of cloth from her tattered robes. After tying it around her wrist, she used the other end to tie Ning Cheng's wrist and spoke, I can only see about 10 feet around me from here. I can't use my spiritual consciousness anymore. If we don't tie each other up, I'm afraid that we would soon be separated. This was not the first time that he had come into contact with Shinchinyu. In his impression, this woman was somewhat mysterious. Rip. Ning Cheng could clearly hear Shinchinyu's robes being torn apart. A faint bloody aura spread out, and a powerful force tried to sweep Shinchinyu away. When Ning Cheng heard Shinchinyu's explanation, he frowned slightly. Should he enter the Sea of Twilight? Speaking of time stones, he already had 3 of them. Was it worth it to take the risk? I know that there are many starry skies outside of the striking order starry skies. After the tryouts come out, do we have to go to the biggest starry skies in the universe to participate in the finals? Ning Cheng truly had a lot of questions. Now that he had caught hold of Shinchinyu, he might as well ask her about it. Hearing Ning Cheng's words, Shinchinyu immediately grabbed Ning Cheng's hand and spoke, Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer, you should hurry up and follow the direction you feel. Just as Ning Cheng was still indulging in flights of fancy, a warm and soft hand grabbed his hand, followed by Shinchinyu's voice, Senior Apprentice Brother Wanderer, in the Sea of Twilight, you must not stop. You have to keep moving around, that way, your lifespan will not decline. Once you stop in a place, your lifespan will quickly decline. Shinchinyu was a very knowledgeable person. No matter what Ning Cheng asked, she could always answer it in a way that Ning Cheng could easily understand. After talking to Shinchinyu, Ning Cheng felt that he had benefited a lot. However, the powerful force did not allow Ning Cheng to do so. He could only feel the endless tearing blade lights slamming into his body. At the same time, a horrifying force swept him away. He could not even bring out his twin wings of the heavenly clouds. He could not resist the blade lights, nor could he resist the power sweeping towards him. Shinchinyu answered with patience, if a cultivator in the heavens mandate realm can cut off all impurities and successfully surmount the tribulation, they would be able to advance to the heaven-seated realm and become a powerhouse in the heaven-seated realm. Heaven-seated powerhouses can break through life and death and advance to the life and death realm after understanding yin and yang. As for the eternal realm, I heard that one's life is eternal and endless. I have only read about it from other places, but I have never experienced it myself. Ning Cheng and Shinchinyu's position was not too far from the Sea of Twilight. Ning Cheng felt that Shinchinyu had stopped before he could ask too many questions. We finally landed. This Sea of Twilight is too scary. Ning Cheng gave out a sigh. However, a feeling of endless vicissitudes of time surrounded him. The feeling of time flowing away from the perpetual moon lake once again welled up in his heart. Ning Cheng's heart skipped a beat. If this continued, his lifespan would end before he could find the twilight sand. How could she casually say such an important thing? Ning Cheng looked at Shinchinyu in surprise. Shinchinyu explained, I heard that only those who are trapped in the Sea of Twilight can understand the meaning of this sentence. However, don't think that the Sea of Twilight looks like a sunset over the sea. In fact, there is not even a single drop of water in this place. What you see is a combination of time wheels and time wheels. We will have to enter the Sea of Twilight, which is extremely dangerous. If you are not careful, you will end up getting caught by the time wheels. Time would disappear in an instant, and you would have no chance of survival. Bang! A huge impact force erupted, and Ning Cheng felt as if his entire body was about to fall apart. However, he knew that he had finally landed on the ground. You also know that the sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it's almost dusk. Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Cheng in amazement. Is the perpetual moon Holy Emperor the same as Striking Order Heavenly Emperor, a powerhouse who controls a starry sky? Ning Cheng asked. What appeared in front of Ning Cheng was a beautiful world, completely different from the grayish and dim atmosphere in the rest of the place. Standing here, Ning Cheng felt as if he was standing on the seashore where the sun was about to set. The red sunset glow looked just like a rainbow, forming a rainbow bridge over the distant sea. Although she spoke, Shen Qinyu felt shocked in her heart. She did not think that Ning Cheng could feel the flow of time within the time stones. She had entered the time wilderness for 3 years and had not obtained even a single time stone. Not waiting for Ning Cheng to speak, he felt a kind of tearing pain, as a blade light, which he simply could not resist, blasted into his body, followed by a powerful pulling force rolling towards him. Shen Qinyu saw through Ning Cheng's thoughts and spoke, as for whether to enter this place or not, you should think about it carefully before we go in. Otherwise, once we go in, we will most likely lose our way and never come out. Shen Qinyu's weak voice arrived, these are the time blade lights and time vortexes. Do not use your celestial essence to resist them. Not only would you not be able to block them, but it would also cause this force to grow even stronger. Although his spiritual consciousness had also been suppressed, it was still many times more powerful compared to 3 meters. After Ning Cheng understood this, he immediately felt relieved. His starry sky's sea of consciousness truly was different. I've naturally heard of this sentence. How did you know about it? Ning Cheng felt even more puzzled than Shen Qinyu. Of course, he knew that it was a poem written by Li Shanying of the Tang dynasty. Xian Wan felt uncomfortable, so I drove up the ancient plains. The setting sun is infinitely beautiful, but dusk is approaching. He wondered how Shen Qinyu knew about this sentence. What's going on? Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness swept out, only to find that his spiritual consciousness had shrunk from a range of 10 miles to a radius of about 10 feet. Ning Cheng, who was still hesitant, suddenly felt his heart lighten up when he heard Shen Qinyu's words. Along the way, didn't he always seek opportunities amidst dangers? There were countless cultivators in the vast starry skies, how many dangerous opportunities would there be for him to obtain? Ning Cheng promptly stopped resisting, and the violent sweeping force wrapped around Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu. At this moment, Ning Cheng could not even use his spiritual consciousness. The setting sun is infinitely beautiful, but dusk is approaching. Such a sentence popped up in Ning Cheng's mind for no reason. It was simply too appropriate to describe this place. Shen Qinyu spoke up calmly, the perpetual moon time key is probably the most valuable thing in the time wilderness. The reason why I told you about it is that the time lake exploded, causing the perpetual moon time key to never appear again. When you went into seclusion, I went to the perpetual moon lake once, which is how I came to know about it. Ning Cheng did not want to tell Shen Qinyu that his spiritual consciousness could reach a range of 10 miles, as such, he could only let Shen Qinyu do as she pleased. Ning Cheng quickened his pace, and in just a few dozen breaths, he arrived next to the time stone. Just as Ning Cheng bent down to pick up the time stone, an extreme sense of danger suddenly rose from the bottom of his heart. Ning Cheng did not even think about it and immediately flew out with Shen Qinyu. In fact, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness had already detected the time stone. Although it was much smaller than the 3 time stones he obtained, Ning Cheng felt sure that it was a time stone. After speaking, Shen Qinyu stood up and spoke, let's head to the Sea of Twilight now. If you have any questions, you can ask me on the way. What a beautiful place. The setting sun is infinitely beautiful, but dusk is approaching. After a long time, Ning Cheng spoke up with a sigh. As soon as he thought of it, he spoke up. Chapter 545. Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness fell into his ring, and found that he could still take out the things inside, causing him to finally feel relieved. At least in this place, he could still cultivate. From the looks of it, Shen Qinyu's spiritual consciousness should have been completely shackled. Most likely, she would not even be able to open her ring. Ning Cheng was just about to tell Shen Qinyu that he could take out the things inside the ring when Shen Qinyu spoke up once again. In the deepest part of the Sea of Twilight, time would always pass by. Even walking around would not help. With our lifespan, we can only live for 10 years at most. Moreover, the depths of the Sea of Twilight are boundless. Even if we keep walking, we will still be here after 10 years. Ning Cheng remained silent. He could indeed feel his lifespan slipping away. Regardless of whether he could use his spiritual consciousness or not, as long as he was in here, he would not be able to survive. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng gave a sigh and spoke, "I still have a miniature world, let's go into the miniature world and think of a way." Shen Qinyu shook her head and spoke, "It's useless. Unless the laws of your miniature world surpass the laws of the Sea of Twilight, the flow of time within your miniature world would still be the same. It would not slow down just because you entered the miniature world. What's more, without divine sense, it's impossible to enter the small world. Is there really no way to get out of the depths of the Sea of Twilight?" Ning Cheng's face turned ugly to look at. Shen Qinyu spoke up calmly, "Not only is there no way to get out, but I also heard that the loss of one's lifespan in the Sea of Twilight cannot be recovered. In other places within the time wilderness, once one lost their lifespan, one's appearance would turn old. However, this kind of aging could be restored through cultivation. But in the Sea of Twilight, one's lifespan would be lost, and it would be difficult to regain their old appearance. Even if you increase your cultivation, you will only be able to increase your lifespan, but you will lose your beauty forever." Ah! Ning Cheng turned sluggish. According to Shen Qinyu's words, even if he went out one day, he would become a white-haired old man. How could he be together with Shi Qianghua and Luofei? Not caring about Ning Cheng's stupor, Shen Qinyu also gave out a sigh, while her eyes revealed a trace of loneliness. She never thought that the peerless beauty that she had been concealing would slowly age alone in the Sea of Twilight. She thought of Xiao Yu, who had been pursuing her crazily. He was the only senior brother that she had a good impression of. In the grand culmination Starry Skies, the spiritual heavens sect was also a top-ranked sect, belonging to the Starry Skies class. In the Ling Xiao sect, only disciples who could inherit the sect's mantle could have the Xiao character in their name. However, Xiao Yu was obviously the pride of the spiritual heaven sect. He had cultivated to the celestial bridge realm before the age of 100. Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Cheng beside her and felt a little lost in her heart. Ning Cheng was a Starry Skies wanderer and a principled Starry Skies wanderer. If Ning Cheng was replaced by Xiao Yu, with only 10 years to live, how would he treat himself? "Do you have someone you like?" Shen Qinyu interrupted Ning Cheng's daze. Ning Cheng gave an "n" sound and spoke, "Yes, I have 2 wives. I was thinking, if one day I grow old, what would happen if I went out and saw them?" Shen Qinyu apparently did not think that Ning Cheng would have 2 wives. She froze for a while before asking in doubt, "Aren't Starry Skies wanderers always alone? Why does he have a wife?" In Ning Cheng's mind, Shi Qianghua's incomparably demure demeanor appeared, along with Ji Luofei's gentle and tranquil temperament. In comparison, Luofei was more extroverted than Qianghua. "Before I entered the Starry Skies, or rather, when I was in a low-level true cultivation mainland, I already had 2 wives." Ning Cheng's tone no longer had the previous impatience. He believed that little Chase could escape. Even if it was just a soul essence cultivator, he still had a way to deal with it. When the time came, he would ask little Chase in detail. In any case, he had to get out of this place. If Shen Qinyu did not want to, then after Shen Qinyu found a place to settle down, he would find a way to get out. Seeing Ning Cheng turn silent again, Shen Qinyu suddenly spoke up. I heard that in the depths of the Sea of Twilight, there is an ice essence called Glimmer of Dawn. A drop of this ice essence can restore a person's original appearance. It's just that the value of this thing is even higher than the Twilight Sand. Anyway, it's just hearsay, no one has ever seen it before. Glimmer of Dawn Ice Essence. Ning Cheng muttered to himself before asking, I've said before, the sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it's only near dusk. Where did you hear this sentence? Shen Qinyu shook her head. It's not that I've heard it before, but everyone who knows about the Sea of Twilight has heard this sentence. I heard that only when you reach the Sea of Twilight, can you truly understand the meaning of this sentence. Now that we have not only reached the Sea of Twilight, but also the deepest part of the Sea of Twilight, I still do not know what this sentence means. It looks like rumors are sometimes not necessarily true. Ning Cheng did not speak, he wondered if there was such a coincidence. The people from both worlds remembered this sentence, and then the people here used this sentence to describe the Sea of Twilight. You don't have to think too much about it. Our lifespans are limited. Let's walk around this place for a while and try our luck. If we can't find the exit after a few years, I plan to find a place to wait quietly. Shen Qinyu's tone turned even calmer. Apparently, she had already accepted her fate. Ning Cheng nodded. He did not refute Shen Qinyu's words, however, finding a place to wait for death was absolutely impossible. In fact, I also come from the grand culmination starry skies. Compared to you, I'm much luckier. I have a master in the life and death realm, and a perfect family. Shen Qinyu and Ning Cheng continued to walk while talking about her origins. Ning Cheng just listened quietly. He did not ask any questions, nor did he take the initiative to talk to Shen Qinyu about his own matters. One day passed just like that. 2 days, 3 days, 1 month passed just like that. Shen Qinyu had already stopped talking. She suddenly felt that she was a bit long-winded. Even if she added up the words she spoke in her entire life, she would not be able to speak as much as she did in a month. In such an environment, she seemed to be able to forget that she was trapped in the Sea of Twilight only by talking non-stop. The 2nd month, the 3rd month also passed by. As Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu continued to walk, the two people's lifespans rapidly drained away. From the start of the 2nd month, Shen Qinyu did not speak a single word, while Ning Cheng also did not speak a single word. The two people just kept walking. Shen Qinyu's eyes grew more and more tired, and her entire person seemed to be growing more and more haggard and dispirited. Her exposed white skin had also turned dark due to walking in the depths of the Sea of Twilight for a few months. In the first 3 months, Shen Qinyu would occasionally look at Ning Cheng. But by the 4th month, she had even closed her eyes. Ning Cheng remained silent. For the next 4 months, he continuously used his spiritual consciousness to capture the lost years outside. He wanted to grasp the glimmer of epiphany that he could not grasp in the perpetual moon lake. At the same time, he also wanted to find a way out. However, after 4 months, his spiritual consciousness had extended from a radius of 10 feet to a radius of 20 feet. Yet, he still could not feel the lost years again. Just as the 5th month was about to pass, Shen Qinyu finally stopped. There was no end to this road, whether she walked or not, it would be the same. Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu had been walking at the same pace, which allowed Ning Cheng to contemplate and gain insights at the same speed. But when Shen Qinyu stopped, she pulled at the belt in her hand, causing Ning Cheng to suddenly wake up. Only then did he stop and ask subconsciously, "Why did you stop? You're a silent person." "I've never walked with a person like this for almost 5 months without saying a word." "I'm sorry, but I can't walk with you anymore. I really can't walk anymore." Shen Qinyu's tone was a bit dry. From this, Ning Qing understood that she was not lying. She truly could not walk anymore. Ning Qing secretly cursed himself for being careless. Shen Qinyu did not have a spiritual consciousness, which meant that her celestial essence consumption was many times higher than his. Walking like this for 5 months, without asking, Ning Qing understood that she had reached her limit. As such, he felt somewhat apologetic. Not waiting for Ning Qing to speak, Shen Qinyu suddenly took off the mask on her face and spoke, "We are also friends. I should at least let you see my true face. You can continue to walk the rest of the way alone. I'll stay here and wait for you." Ning Qing, who originally wanted to speak, looked at Shen Qinyu's face in a daze. He had never seen such a perfect face. Her eyes, which could only be regarded as beautiful before, suddenly turned vivid when placed on this face. Even the extreme exhaustion and loneliness could not conceal these two eyes that were like two clear springs. Slightly pale lips, coupled with this pair of eyes, made her already devastatingly beautiful face even more indescribable. Her messy hair and the clothes that hung on her body like rags did not diminish her beauty in the slightest. Instead, it set off a kind of peerless and refined aura. Anyone who saw this face would immediately forget to observe everything around them. This was simply a masterpiece of the starry sky universe, a landscape painting, a beautiful song. Ning Cheng's gaze gradually wandered away, while Luofei and Qianghua appeared in front of his eyes. One was the most beautiful thing he saw in front of him, while the other was the most beautiful thing in his heart. This kind of dissociation gradually gathered in his mind, making him eager to return to Qianghua and Luofei's side. Shen Qinyu did not care about Ning Cheng's gaze. Any man who saw her for the first time would feel a sense of amazement. She even admitted that in this world, she had not seen a second woman more beautiful than her. However, she soon saw Ning Cheng's gaze wander. How could someone think of another woman when looking at her? Shen Qinyu showed a faint smile. If possible, she really wanted to see the woman Ning Cheng was thinking of. When she thought of this, she suddenly shook her head. If it were in the past, she would never have thought of such a thing. I thought too much. I actually wanted to let you see my face before we separate. If it were in the past, I would never have imagined that it would be true. Shen Qinyu's voice still sounded dry. She wanted to thank Ning Cheng for saving her once, which allowed Ning Cheng to see her face. Naturally, it also contained a sense of self-pity. She had unexpectedly fallen in the sea of twilight with a strange starry skies wanderer. Chapter 546. Let's go together. Ning Cheng took out a pot of water from his ring and handed it to Shen Qinyu. Shen Qinyu took the water that Ning Cheng handed to her and took a sip before looking at Ning Cheng in amazement. You can use your spiritual consciousness. Ning Cheng smiled, my spiritual consciousness is also bound, but I can still take out the things inside the ring. Thank you. Shen Qinyu felt much better after drinking the water. She really wanted to ask Ning Cheng to help her take out a set of clothes from her ring, but thinking of the things inside her ring, she held back. As for asking Ning Cheng to borrow a set of clothes to wear, she had never thought about it. If you can continue walking, then let's continue walking. I think if we don't go, we won't have any hope at all. If we keep walking, then maybe one day we can find a way out. Ning Cheng looked at Shen Qinyu and spoke as slowly as possible. In the beginning, Ning Cheng still wanted to leave Shen Qinyu in one place while he continued to look for a way out. Once he found a way out, he would then come back and lead Shen Qinyu away. Now that 5 months had passed, Ning Cheng knew that such an idea would never become a reality. He had no idea which direction he had come from a few minutes ago. Not to mention coming back to find someone in the future. Shen Qinyu took in a deep breath and nodded, I can go. All right. Although he did not use his spiritual consciousness to observe Shen Qinyu, Ning Cheng could see that Shen Qinyu looked fine and did not ask anything. Ning Qing quickly fell into a state of enlightenment regarding the passage of time. At first, he could only feel his lifespan rapidly disappearing. Towards the end, he caught the passing of time. Not only did he touch the flow of time, but his spiritual consciousness could also penetrate further and further. In the end, Ning Qing even found a source within this flow of time. It was as if the closer he got to the fountain, the faster the surrounding time flowed, and the faster his lifespan was consumed. Ning Qing's mind suddenly sobered up. If it was any other place, Ning Qing would have definitely stayed far away from this place where the flow of time was extremely fast. But now Ning Qing decided to speed up. This might be his only way out. At this time, Ning Qing no longer tried to save his celestial essence. Junior apprentice Sister Chen, I think we should hurry up. Ning Qing had only spoken half of his words when he suddenly stopped. Shen Qinyu followed him mechanically, as if her consciousness had completely disappeared. It was just a subconscious action, repeated step by step. Not good. If this goes on, I'll be a lamp that runs out of oil. Ning Qing did not dare to think about it anymore. Not caring about anything else, he raised his hand and put Shen Qinyu on his back. At the same time, he took out a few medicinal pills and put them in her mouth. Feeling that Shen Qinyu's aura had calmed down a little, Ning Qing stimulated his celestial essence and no longer looked as slow as before. At the same time, a faint trail of dust appeared under his feet. Compared to before, his speed was more than 10 times faster. The more Ning Qing moved in the direction he felt, the more he could feel his lifespan flowing away. Sometimes, the most dangerous place was the safest place. Moreover, he had no other choice. The formidable power of the mysterious yellow formless was vividly reflected at this time. Even if Ning Qing ran at full speed, the mysterious yellow formless would still allow him to temper his spiritual consciousness. His spiritual consciousness was constantly strengthening, and his senses were also constantly strengthening under the constant strengthening of his spiritual consciousness. At this time, Ning Qing completely forgot about the passage of time and the disappearance of time. He was immersed in a kind of walking epiphany. The passage of time around him allowed him to constantly feel the passing of life, allowing him to grasp some of the mysteries within the passage of time. At the same time, this kind of running also allowed his spiritual consciousness to soar. Shen Qinyu was awakened by a mysterious aura. She opened her eyes and found herself lying on Ning Qing's back. Ning Qing, carrying her on his back, seemed to be unaware of anything as he madly rushed forward. As someone who came from a big family and had a good master, Shen Qinyu instantly understood Ning Qing's actions. Ning Qing had fallen into an epiphany, moreover, it was a walking epiphany. Shen Qinyu felt extremely grateful towards Ning Qing in her heart, but at the same time, she also felt a kind of shock from the bottom of her heart. She came from the center of this positional plane and had seen countless geniuses. However, she had never seen a genius like Ning Qing. Carrying a person on his back, while crazily running through the deepest part of the Sea of Twilight, he could still achieve an epiphany. What kind of aptitude was this? Was it too terrifying? No wonder he could cultivate to the celestial Shatterer realm without any master. Not only did he cultivate to the celestial Shatterer realm, but his combat prowess was also amazing. As the powerful aura of enlightenment shrouded her, Shen Qinyu suddenly closed her eyes and immersed herself in this epiphany. Previously, she had closed her eyes because her celestial essence had dried up, almost to the point of exhaustion. But now, she closed her eyes because of Ning Qing's epiphany. Ning Qing's epiphany also gave her an epiphany. As the years passed, time never stopped. When Shen Qinyu opened her eyes again, they were filled with excitement and joy. She had unexpectedly touched upon the mysterious laws of time. At this moment, she believed that if given enough time, once she advanced to the celestial bridge realm, she would become the first person in the entire starry skies to touch upon the laws of time in the celestial river realm. No, it should be the second. She had touched the surface of the laws of time during Ning Qing's epiphany, which meant that Ning Qing definitely had a deeper understanding than her. Maybe Ning Cheng had truly touched upon the laws of time, something that only those who had reached beyond the eternal realm could touch. As Shen Qinyu thought of this, she felt even more horrified. A cultivator in the celestial Shatterer realm who had touched upon the surface of the laws of time, could this be described as a genius? Since ancient times, which genius could touch upon the surface of the laws of time in the celestial Scryer realm? Not to mention touching upon the surface of the laws of time, even touching upon the surface of the laws of space was extremely rare. As Shen Qinyu thought of this, she retracted her thoughts and her gaze fell on Ning Cheng's back. Previously, when she had comprehended the laws of time, she had not noticed the changes in Ning Cheng. However, when she retracted her thoughts and saw the changes in Ning Cheng, she almost screamed out loud. Ning Cheng's originally gray hair had turned completely white, and even his skin had aged a lot. Shen Qinyu instantly sobered up, only to find that her hair had also turned silver. Time passed by so quickly. Did this unknown wanderer carry her on his back for 2 or 3 years? She did not know why, but the passage of time was getting faster and faster. If this continued, she would not have a lifespan of more than 10 years. Perhaps her lifespan would soon run dry. At this moment, Shen Qinyu's heart no longer felt the same desolation and loneliness from before. She knew that she could only live for a year at most. However, at the moment when she was about to fall, she unexpectedly touched upon the surface of the laws of time and felt a trace of the passage of time. For a starry skies cultivator, what could make her happier than this? A long roar awakened Shen Qinyu. Ning Cheng stopped and stood in place while letting out a long roar. Shen Qinyu felt her heart tremble. This long roar contained the vicissitudes of time and the joy of enlightenment. Shen Qinyu could not make such a long roar, however, when she heard this long roar, she felt a resonance from the depths of her soul. At this moment, she and Ning Cheng experienced the same epiphany. However, the next moment, she felt stunned by the scene in front of her. A gorgeous rainbow appeared in front of them, with a faint star-like sunset glow in the middle of the rainbow. She had never seen a rainbow so close to her, nor had she ever seen a sunset glow so close to her fingertips. Beautiful, it was simply too beautiful. Even with her lifespan rapidly draining away, Shen Qinyu could not stop praising this beauty. This beauty came from her heart, from the depths of her soul. Perhaps in the next moment, she would fall under this beautiful sunset, however, she did not want to give up on this beauty. The sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it is near dusk. Shen Qinyu murmured these words in a low voice. She seemed to understand some of the meaning behind it. Between heaven and earth, life is like a white colt passing by, suddenly. After the long roar, Ning Cheng suddenly spoke out in a clear voice. He finally understood the meaning of this sentence. If there was a world between heaven and earth, then this was it. In this world, 100 years would pass by in just a snap of the fingers. If I cross this world, then what? Ning Cheng laughed, as he flew up and unexpectedly rushed towards the setting sun. Dashing towards the beautiful sunset rainbow, Shen Qinyu gave out an "ah" sound in her heart and wanted to stop Ning Cheng. This place was simply too beautiful. Even if she had to stand here and look at the beautiful sunset, until she fell, she would be willing to do so without any regrets. However, this wanderer actually wanted to take her through this beautiful scenery and destroy this beautiful sunset. His snow-white hair flew up and fell on Shen Qinyu's face, forcibly suppressing Shen Qinyu's attempts to stop him. An ice-cold aura assaulted her, causing Shen Qinyu to shiver. She could feel the chill. But then, she felt something wrong again. The loss of her lifespan had disappeared without a trace, and in front of her was a world of ice and snow. My spiritual consciousness can now extend out about 10 feet, and I can also take out the things inside the ring. Shen Qinyu's words of surprise had not yet finished when her feet landed on the ground. Ning Cheng put her down, however, at this moment, she had completely forgotten what she had just said. She followed the gaze of Ning Cheng, who was standing next to her, and felt shocked once again. At the far end of the horizon, a soft red glow could be seen, and the rainbow reflected by the red glow looked even more beautiful. This was not the red glow of the sunset, nor was it the rainbow of the sunset. Rather, it was the appearance of the rising sun, the first glimmer of dawn. That is where we just came from. The place we came from is the sunset. After we pass through this sunset, we arrive at the first glimmer of dawn. When we passed through it, it was very close, but when we look back, it feels very far away. Ning Cheng looked at the red glow in the distance and spoke with a hint of excitement. Even if he did not gain anything in the Sea of Twilight, he would still feel satisfied. Passing through the sunset was the first glimmer of dawn. No one understood it better than him, as he had done it himself. Combined with his experience of walking in the Sea of Twilight for a few months, Ning Cheng believed that he would once again touch the surface of the laws of time. At this moment, he finally understood the meaning of the phrase, "The sunset is infinitely beautiful, but dusk is approaching." Chapter 547. Ning Cheng looked at the distant dawn and stood there for a long time without moving. It seemed as if he had once again fallen into an epiphany. However, Shen Qinyu could feel the coldness growing more and more intense. The surrounding ice-cold air felt like bone-piercing steel needles that continuously pierced into her body. Even with her spiritual consciousness and her celestial essence, she could not completely drive away this ice-cold air. She retracted her gaze from the dawn and saw that she was surrounded by an endless plain. No, it should be an endless ice field. There were no protruding peaks, not even a single blade of grass. Looking at her naked body, Shen Qinyu quickly moved a few feet away from Ning Cheng and took out a tent. Entering it, she quickly took off all the tattered clothes on her body. After casting a dust removal technique on herself, Shen Qinyu felt relieved. Although her hair had turned silver, her skin and appearance had not changed much. Just as Shen Qinyu took out her clothes and was about to put them on, a lightning-like shadow rushed into her tent and quickly took her away. Shen Qinyu did not resist. The moment the shadow took her away, she immediately recognized who this person was. She grabbed the clothes in her hands and calmly looked at Ning Cheng before asking, "Why?" She wasn't an irrational person, but the wanderer in front of her, who had brought her here, didn't say anything. Instead, he grabbed her when she was about to put on her clothes. This made her feel extremely angry and humiliated deep in her heart. Ning Cheng spoke with an equally calm tone, "You will know when you look back." When Shen Qinyu looked back, she found that the tent she had just arranged was nowhere to be seen. The place where she had arranged the tent was now covered in ice crystals, with nothing else. "Ah!" Shen Qinyu screamed in shock, forgetting to put on her clothes. "Put on your clothes first, I'll explain it to you." Ning Cheng glanced at Shen Qinyu and spoke with a calm tone. Shen Qinyu discovered that she was still naked. Although for her, being looked at once was the same as being looked at 100 times. However, taking off her clothes in front of a stranger, even if she was rational, she still could not get over it. No longer caring about the fact that she was in front of this wanderer, Shen Qinyu quickly changed her clothes before giving out a sigh of relief. "Do you know about the time wheel?" Not waiting for Shen Qinyu to speak, Ning Cheng took the initiative to ask. Shen Qinyu put on the mask first. When she felt a trace of coldness on her face, she took in a deep breath and nodded, "I know that within the time wilderness, the time wheel is the most terrifying thing. Once the time wheel appears, if you can't escape from the time wheel in time, you will die 10 times out of 10. Speaking until here, Shen Qinyu seemed to have thought of something and looked at Ning Cheng in shock. "You just said?" Ning Cheng nodded, "Yes, it was the time wheel just now." The time wheels in this place seemed different from other places. They moved in a certain direction and did not spread out. Perhaps it was also because the time wheel in this place was not broken that it did not spread out. "Just now, a time wheel passed by the tent where you changed your clothes, and I pulled you out in time." Ning Cheng was too familiar with the time wheel. He had almost died under the broken time wheel in the perpetual moon lake. Fortunately, he had the mysterious yellow bead. I understand. Shen Qinyu looked at the vast expanse of ice crystal plains and immediately understood why there were no protrusions in this place. Time wheels came and went in this place all year round, and anything that protruded would be swept to the ground by the time wheel. Thank you. Shen Qinyu gave a grateful bow to Ning Qing. Although she was not like other female cultivators, who would not react to being seen naked, she still found it hard to get rid of the awkwardness in her heart. Seeing Shen Qinyu still shivering from the cold, Ning Qing suddenly grabbed Shen Qinyu's hand and spoke, burning the heart with an inch of fire, celestial essence entering the lesser lake. Not waiting for Shen Qinyu to operate her cultivation method, a warm flow of celestial essence appeared within her body. After Ning Qing put down her hand, Shen Qinyu's celestial essence automatically flowed through the meridians pointed out by Ning Qing. The bone-chilling cold immediately dissipated, and it no longer felt as terrifying as before. Did you think of this by yourself? Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Qing in shock. She knew that Ning Qing did not belong to any sect, nor did he have any inheritance. However, his cold-dispelling cultivation method turned out to be quite powerful. At this moment, she had already forgotten about the awkwardness from before. Ning Qing showed a smile. I thought about it myself and read about it from other places. But let's talk about it later. There should be some time stones here. Time stones. As Ning Qing spoke, Shen Qinyu saw a time stone. She had wanted to ask about it, but she had already put it aside. With a flash, she rushed towards the place where the time wheel had just swept past and reached out to grab a dark gray-colored stone the size of a longan. A faint flow of time radiated from the stone. It felt like the vicissitudes of time, but it also felt like an indescribable flow of time. It really is a time stone. Shen Qinyu's eyes flashed with excitement. She had entered the time wilderness for a few years, but this was the first time she had picked up a time stone. So that's how it is. Ning Qing understood that wherever the time wheel had passed through, there was a high chance of finding a time stone. Time stones and time wheels had a connection. When he was in the perpetual moon lake, he had picked up 3 time stones because the time wheel had broken. If that time wheel had broken, then maybe he would have found more than one time stone. Ning Qing also knew that apart from him, no one would dare to break the time wheel. Shen Qinyu finally sobered up from her excitement. She put the time stone into a jade box and then handed the jade box to Ning Qing. This is for you. You saved me, and you brought me to this place. Ning Qing pushed Shen Qinyu's hand back and spoke, since there is a time stone here, it means that there are others. As long as we look around here, we can definitely find more time stones. From now on, whoever finds it, can keep it. Shen Qinyu did not continue to give the time stone to Ning Qing. This kind of thing was priceless, and she also longed for it. However, Ning Qing, this starry skies wanderer, once again gave her a new impression. A celestial scryer cultivator who could refuse a time stone, she felt sure that there was not a second person like him. Not to mention celestial scryer cultivators, even striking order Heavenly Emperor might not be able to refuse a time stone. This kind of thing was just too precious. If it were any other cultivator, they might have already prepared to kill her to silence her. However, this starry skies wanderer in front of her actually refused it without even the slightest bit of greed. Remember, don't stray too far away from me. After Ning Qing spoke a few words to Shen Qinyu, he took the initiative to enter this seemingly endless ice field. Shen Qinyu nodded. Although her spiritual consciousness only had a range of 1 foot, her eyes could still see Ning Qing in front of her. Ning Qing had spoken the truth. In this vast expanse of ice, there was definitely more than one time stone in this place. In just an hour, Shen Qinyu's surprised voice once again arrived. Apparently, she had picked up a second time stone. Shen Qinyu looked at Ning Qing's back and wondered how many time stones this starry skies wanderer had picked up. She was walking behind him, so logically speaking, he should have picked up more than her. Ning Cheng indeed picked up more time stones compared to Shen Qinyu. Generally speaking, the time stones were the size of rice grains and peas, which he simply did not bother to pick up. The ones he picked up were at least the size of a broad bean, while most of them were the size of a longan. Some of them were even bigger than a fist. As for the time stones that Shen Qinyu picked up, Ning Cheng had deliberately let her pick them up. Otherwise, in this place, his spiritual consciousness could sweep through dozens of miles, without missing anything. A month later, Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu picked up fewer and fewer time stones. However, whether it was Shen Qinyu or Ning Cheng, they both felt very satisfied. Shen Qinyu had picked up more than 20 time stones. She even suspected that the total number of time stones picked up by the cultivators who entered the time wilderness would not be as many as hers. Of course, this wanderer in front of her was an exception. Since she had picked up so many time stones, it would have been strange if this wanderer, walking in front of her, picked up less. Shen Qinyu looked up at Ning Cheng in front of her and immediately froze. Previously, she had been looking down for time stones and only occasionally looked at Ning Cheng to see if he was in her line of sight. However, she did not look at the surrounding scenery. At this moment, she felt shocked to discover that the place in front of her was no longer an ice field, but a forest that looked like a world of ice and snow. Shen Qinyu quickly took a few steps and arrived at Ning Cheng's side. However, before she could speak, she felt a warm sensation around her waist. Ning Cheng's hand had already wrapped around her waist, and she immediately flew up while sticking to the ground. Shen Qinyu instantly understood that this wanderer's spiritual consciousness was far stronger than hers. Although the two of them had picked up many time stones along the way, they had yet to encounter a time wheel. Apparently, it had something to do with this wanderer's spiritual consciousness. A celestial shatterer cultivator could use his spiritual consciousness to avoid a time wheel. Just how terrifying was this? From this, it could be seen that this wanderer's understanding of the laws of time was far stronger than her own. What a beautiful world! Shen Qinyu, who was put down by Ning Cheng, could not help but exclaim when she saw the world of ice and snow in front of her. The undulating ice hills looked crystal clear, while some of the ice trees formed various shapes. What the hell is this place? I've read a lot of information about the Sea of Twilight, but I've never seen such a place. Shen Qinyu muttered to herself. Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu were different. His spiritual consciousness could penetrate into this world of ice and snow. As such, he could feel the desolation and danger of this world of ice and snow. If the place we entered is the Sea of Twilight, then I think this place might be the seabed of the Sea of Twilight. Let's go in and have a look. Maybe there is a way out of this place. Ning Cheng spoke with a deep voice. Even if Ning Cheng had not said anything, Shen Qinyu had already planned to go in and have a look. Ning Cheng took the first step into this icy world, and a terrifying bone-chilling cold immediately assaulted him. Even Ning Cheng had to fully circulate his celestial essence to barely resist this bone-chilling cold. After several years of tempering and gaining insights in the Sea of Twilight, Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness could now reach a range of 100 miles. Yet, he still felt that it was difficult to resist. Shen Qinyu, whose spiritual consciousness could only cover a radius of 1 foot, shivered even more. She could only take a single step before finding it hard to walk. Chapter 548. The powerful chill made her feel her body quickly turn cold. Even if her celestial essence continued to circulate within her body, it could not drive away this cold. This cold even froze her spiritual consciousness, not to mention continuing to walk. Shen Qinyu felt sure that if she did not retreat, she would turn into an icicle in the next moment. Ning Cheng's Sea of Consciousness was a starry sky's sea of consciousness. Yet, circulating his celestial essence to its fullest extent was already unbearable. How could he not understand Shen Qinyu's suffering? It was not that Shen Qinyu did not want to speak, but that she could not speak at all. Ning Cheng took a step to the side and directly placed Shen Qinyu on his back. The celestial river flame fused with his celestial essence, and his surroundings immediately erupted with crackling sounds. This sound felt as if the celestial river flame's celestial essence had melted the surrounding ice-cold space, giving off a cracking sound. Shen Qinyu felt a burst of warmth radiating from Ning Cheng's back, which quickly drove away the coldness in her body. It felt as if she had found a place to bask in the sun on a cold winter's day. This kind of warmth was something that could not be described with words. At this moment, she finally understood why the Sea of Twilight looked for people with flames to cooperate with. It turned out to be because of this place. This wanderer's celestial essence could actually resist the cold in this place. Maybe he also had a flame. While Shen Qinyu was lost in her thoughts, Ning Cheng's figure had already unfolded and was moving faster and faster. Half a day later, Ning Cheng stopped outside a huge round altar. A transfer array? Shen Qinyu also saw the thing on the round altar and exclaimed in shock. She then spoke with even more certainty, "Yes, that's a transfer array. It must be a transfer array." Ning Cheng nodded, "It's a transfer array. Sure enough, we can teleport out of this place." "Then, should we leave now?" Shen Qinyu asked eagerly. If she had the ability to survive, she might have wanted to search for the glimmer of dawn ice essence in this place to see if the legend was true. However, she was now completely dependent on Wanderer carrying her. Without Wanderer, she would have died a long time ago. After saying that, she seemed to have thought of something and spoke up again, "Senior apprentice brother Wanderer, I'll keep your time stone for you. I'll give it to you after we get out. I'm sure that striking order Heavenly Emperor would not notice it." Ning Cheng was just about to speak when a violent force swept over. Like a huge tornado, it swept him up. Ning Cheng, who was caught in this terrifying tornado, unexpectedly did not have even half a shred of resistance. Boom! Gotcha! A violent rumble resounded from the bottom of his feet, and a several feet wide glacial canyon appeared outside the round altar with the teleportation formation. The violent rotational force directly wrapped around Ning Cheng, and pulled him into this glacial canyon. Ning Cheng did not have much time to think about it. Grabbing Shen Qinyu on his back, he stimulated his celestial essence and threw her out. At the same time, he crazily stimulated the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. In this place, he had such an experience. It was the same logic when he fell into that deep well. The only difference was that the deep well before was a kind of suction force that pulled him down, but here, it was a kind of whirlpool that pushed him in from the outside. Although Shen Qinyu was thrown out by Ning Cheng, she did not feel any resentment or sense of loss in her heart. On the contrary, her mind flashed with the scene of Wanderer carrying her on his back. Wanderer had carried her on his back as he walked through the depths of the Sea of Twilight for a few years. She had not even had the time to repay his kindness. But then she showed a self-deprecating smile. Everyone was selfish, not to mention that she and Wanderer were not even familiar with each other. This Starry Skies Wanderer was many times better than most of the people she had met in the past. Although in such a desperate situation, she did not blame him for throwing her away. She and this person did not know each other, yet he had already paid enough. Bang! Shen Qinyu's feet landed on the ground. What happened? When Shen Qinyu looked around, she found that she was standing in the center of the teleportation formation, not in the depths of the glacial canyon as she had imagined. At this moment, she understood that Wanderer had not thrown her away casually like she had thought. Instead, he wanted her to enter the teleportation formation first. At this moment, she only needed to take out a few Starry Skies crystals and put them into the groove of the teleportation formation to teleport away. No matter where she teleported to, it would be much better than falling into the unfathomable glacial canyon. Shen Qinyu touched the groove of the teleportation formation in a daze, forgetting to take out the Starry Skies crystals. She was an open-minded and rational person. Besides letting a stranger see her face in a situation where she knew she would die, she rarely did anything irrational. Even when she was caught by Ning Cheng without wearing any clothes, she did not show any anger on her face. Instead, she calmly asked why. Since birth, she had always done everything in an orderly manner. She would never do something she did not want to do because of impulsiveness. Impulsiveness would never belong to her. But now, Wanderer had thrown her into the teleportation formation after falling into the glacial canyon. At this moment, she felt an additional thing in her heart, that is, impulsiveness. She even wanted to enter the bottom of the valley to see if something had happened to Wanderer. Shen Qinyu carefully walked out of the teleportation formation, and the icy cold assaulted her, causing her to subconsciously shiver once again. However, she quickly felt that the icy cold here was not as horrifying as when she first came in. At least with the circulation of celestial essence, she would be safe and sound. Giving out a slight sigh of relief, Shen Qinyu walked to the edge of the cracked glacial canyon. She could not even see the end of the canyon with her eyes, let alone use her spiritual consciousness to explore it. She could only feel a chill coming from the deepest part of the canyon. Shen Qinyu shuddered. How could one survive falling into such a place? In such a place where one's spiritual consciousness was restricted, not to mention encountering a time wheel, even if there was no danger, one would not be able to climb up, right? After Ning Cheng sent Shen Qinyu away, he felt a lot more relaxed. However, in the face of the violent whirlpool that had wrapped around him, he still could not break free. These whirlpools were like a loophole, sucking him from the mouth of the funnel to the bottom. Bang! Not knowing for how long, the powerful whirlpool threw Ning Cheng to the ground, causing ice chips to splatter everywhere. The terrifying impact caused Ning Cheng to break several of his bones. Fortunately, Ning Cheng was a body-forging cultivator. Moreover, he was crazily wielding the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. As such, this kind of injury was not fatal to him. Under the circulation of celestial essence, the broken bones quickly healed. Ning Cheng immediately wielded the twin wings of the heavenly clouds, intending to fly out of the glacial canyon that had suddenly cracked open. However, he had just flown out a few feet when the violent whirlpool once again pulled him down. This kind of powerful force was completely different from the one at the bottom of the well. Moreover, the higher he went, the more powerful the whirlpool became. Ning Cheng's heart sank. If he could not force his way through this whirlpool, he would never reach the teleportation array. Taking out several medicinal pills to restore celestial essence, Ning Cheng once again wielded the twin wings of the heavenly clouds. This time, with the assistance of the medicinal pills, Ning Cheng managed to rise a few dozen feet. However, the powerful force of the funnel whirlpool still pulled him down. Looking up at the glacial canyon, Ning Cheng could not see the end of it. Ning Cheng knew that it would be difficult to get out of this place. This time, he could feel it a lot more clearly. This whirlpool even contained the flow of time, and the higher he went, the more powerful it became. Ning Cheng left the place where he fell with some loss. If he wanted to get out, he would have to find another way. As for Shen Qinyu, he had already thrown her into the teleportation array. As such, there should not be any problems. After walking for less than a few hundred meters, his spiritual consciousness swept across a ring. Ning Cheng raised his hand and picked up the ring. However, the ring immediately collapsed, and everything inside turned into nothingness. Ning Cheng sucked in a breath of cold air. He felt sure that someone else had fallen into this place. However, that person's bones had long since frozen into nothingness by the cold at the bottom of the valley. Moreover, that person's ring had also completely cracked under the cold because of the long time. Ning Cheng had only touched it a little, yet the ring had already turned into flying ash. Because of this ring that had turned into nothingness, Ning Cheng's heart became even more clouded. Cultivators who could reach this place were definitely not weaklings. Yet, those people ended up getting sucked into this time funnel whirlpool and ended up dying without even turning into ashes. Now that he had fallen in here, would there still be any chance of survival? Thinking of this, Ning Cheng became even more careful. His spiritual consciousness started to probe around. He once again caught a faint flow of time, which caused Ning Cheng to feel shocked. Was there a time wheel in this place? This canyon looked extremely narrow. If he encountered a time wheel, then he would have no other way but to enter the mysterious yellow bead. However, Ning Cheng soon discovered that it was not a time wheel, but some stones that exuded a faint twilight glow. Unlike the irregular shape of the time stones, these stones were almost the same size. Each one was the size of a baby's fist. But what shocked Ning Cheng even more was the beauty of these stones. It was just like the sunset glow that he and Shen Qinyu had faced in the past. It was simply too beautiful to behold. Ning Cheng rushed to the side of the stones that exuded the twilight glow of time in just a few steps. He then raised his hand and grabbed one of them. The faint sorrow of the passing of time spread to the bottom of his heart. Combined with the twilight glow of the stone, Ning Cheng couldn't help but sigh. So beautiful. He had never seen such a beautiful stone before. This stone gave off a sad feeling that reached the bottom of one's heart. It also gave off a feeling of despair in the face of dusk. This kind of beauty was different from other kinds of beauty. It had a hint of twilight. This was the twilight sand. Ning Cheng did not need to ask others to know that this was the twilight sand. Twilight sand was hidden in this place. Even if he and Shen Qinyu stayed in the Sea of Twilight for decades, they most likely would not be able to find the twilight sand. Since the twilight sand had spread out, it meant that someone had come here before. Moreover, that person had also come out. After understanding this, Ning Cheng's heart suddenly shook and his mood turned for the better. If others could come out, then he could also come out. Ning Cheng quickly picked up the dozen or so twilight sand scattered on the frozen ground and carefully put them in a jade box. Whether he would use this thing in the future when crafting a long spear or not, it was still a treasure. The power of the maelstrom, which had weakened by countless times, spread to this place. Ning Cheng looked up and finally understood why there were so many twilight sands in this place. These twilight sands were the result of the power of the time whirlpool. After a long time, it had gathered here. Chapter 549. Regardless of whether this sentence was correct or not, Ning Cheng felt sure that it was the correct sentence for him at this stage. He had already touched the laws of time and comprehended the laws of time countless times. Although he did not have the ability to turn back time, he could stretch or compress it. His consciousness completely immersed in the madly swirling time funnel storm, day by day, month by month, year by year. When this spear of mine reaches the great accomplishment stage, I will be able to reverse the flow of time. At that time, I will call this spear the dusk of the stars. Ning Cheng looked at the raging maelstrom in the distance and spoke with a lofty tone. Shen Qinyu did not know if she could get teleported out after missing the time. However, even if she wanted to come back, she had to bring out the time stones she obtained. Now that she had so many time stones on her, she could not afford to die in this place. Ning Cheng and Shen Qinyu were different. He cultivated the mysterious yellow formless cultivation method, which allowed him to cultivate even if he had to dig through the ice steps. However, Ning Cheng did not cultivate. Instead, his spiritual consciousness fell on the raging time vortex storm. Although he was digging through the ice steps, he was thinking about a way to directly pass through the time vortex storm and fly out of it. She wiped her eyes and looked up at the ice steps extending above her head. She knew that she no longer had the ability to dig through the ice steps to the bottom. The time movement artifact in her ring indicated that she had been digging here for several years, which meant that the time wilderness was about to open for 10 years. A few days later, Shen Qinyu once again arrived at the teleportation array. Under her silver hair was a pair of extremely tired eyes. She looked at the unfathomably deep ice valley outside the teleportation array with some sadness in her eyes. She gave a deep sigh before taking out several celestial essence stones and placing them in the groove of the teleportation array. As time slowly passed, Ning Cheng slowly moved upwards. At this moment, a series of countless ice steps had already appeared under his feet. She waited next to the teleportation array for a few days and did not see anyone come up, so she started digging through the ice steps. In just half a year, she dug out hundreds of ice steps. These ice steps piled up one after another above her head and extended upwards like a ladder. Although he could turn back time, he did not have the ability to do so. Even elder brother Tsang Wei did not have the ability to turn back time. He had tried countless methods, but he still couldn't break out of this time vortex storm funnel. He repeatedly drove his twin wings of the heavenly clouds, again and again, over and over again. He even had to use his only knockoff celestial river battleship. Under this terrifying time maelstrom, the battleship would be completely useless, far inferior to his twin wings of the heavenly clouds. On this day, Ning Cheng suddenly stopped his mechanical action of digging the ice steps. He did not even take out the axe he had placed on the ice steps. Instead, he directly brought out his Nirvana spear and shot it out. If it was just an ordinary team member, she might be a little sad, but she wouldn't be like this. Over the past few years, he had long come into contact with the time law, but he had never been able to perfectly perform his time's sacred art. He had heard from his elder brother Tsang Wei that within the vast void plane, there were countless law worlds, and these law worlds contained a variety of laws. If he encountered a world that contained the laws of time, it was not impossible for him to shift time by countless years. Even if this spear consumed a lot of celestial essence and spiritual consciousness, Ning Cheng still couldn't help but roar out after putting away the spear. In fact, deep in her heart, she had already made a decision. If she dug to the bottom, and that wanderer fell, she would take his body away. Not knowing for how long, Shen Qinyu once again felt her body lighten. She knew that the time limit for the time wilderness had come to an end, and that she had been transferred out. Tsang Wei was right, however, Ning Cheng was wrong. He was wrong because his cultivation was too low. He had not even learned how to walk, yet he was already ready to run. Shen Qinyu only hoped that one day the ice steps she dug could be connected to the ice steps dug by Wanderer. However, she knew very well that after being swept away by the power of the violent maelstrom, it would be extremely difficult to come back up. Even a celestial river-class battleship would not be able to come up. Any cultivator who entered the time wilderness, if they remained in some mystic realm within the time wilderness during the transfer time, would not be transferred out. A white light flashed, and when Shen Qinyu landed on the ground again, she found that she had appeared on the periphery of the Sea of Twilight. In other words, people who were proficient in the laws of time could even reverse time. When time was compressed to the extreme, it would come to a standstill. Ning Cheng still felt excited in his heart. That's right, it came to a standstill. This standstill did not mean that time had stopped, however, it made all the surrounding senses feel that time had come to a standstill, or infinitely close to a standstill. One after another, ice steps extended under Ning Cheng's feet. At this time, Ning Cheng had already forgotten what he was doing, and even forgot that he wanted to fly out. Although she was a rational person, she was not a cold-blooded person. She did not know if this wanderer's real name was Wanderer or not, but the other party had fallen into this glacial canyon because of her. If one wanted to come out from the canyon, one would have to dig the ice steps. Ning Cheng remembered a movie that he had once watched. In the movie, there was a sentence, "Time is relative, it can be stretched or compressed, but it cannot be reversed." In other words, one could not go back in time. However, she soon became disappointed. The small public square built in the void did not contain the familiar figure she wanted to see. The maelstrom once again began to roll, and the storm hole once again raged. Even breathing could be felt. At this time, Ning Cheng once again appeared at the bottom of the glacial canyon where he had fallen. He had searched the entire canyon, but apart from finding a dozen pieces of twilight sand, he could not find any other exit. If he wanted to get out, there was no other way but to leave through this maelstrom funnel. From now on, This move will be called dusk. Ning Cheng, who had recovered a part of his celestial essence, shook the Nirvana spear in his hand and spoke to himself excitedly. Chi! A faint lightning flashed in the middle of the glacial canyon. After this spear shot out, everything around him seemed to have come to a standstill for a moment. The maelstrom stopped, the storm stopped, and even his breathing stopped. Shen Qinyu's spiritual consciousness immediately swept out. She longed for that familiar wanderer's shadow to suddenly appear in the crowd. At first, he did not think about digging some ice steps like Shen Qinyu did. However, the ice valley in this place was extremely hard. Even after spending an entire day, he still could not dig out a single step. Since she started cultivating from a very young age, she had never been so willful, not even once. But this time, she could not stop herself from digging out an ice step to rescue that wanderer. Shen Qinyu stood on the periphery of the Sea of Twilight and silently looked at the Sea of Twilight in the distance, not moving at all. A few years ago, she teamed up with a wanderer who had rescued her and entered the Sea of Twilight. A few years later, she came out alone. I understand. Ning Cheng's hands trembled as he held the Nirvana spear, tears streaming down his face. He finally understood, he finally touched the laws of time. After this spear thrust, Ning Cheng's sea of consciousness turned completely empty, and his celestial essence turned into nothingness. At this moment, if he had not clung tightly to the ice steps, he would have already fallen down. This spear had exhausted all of his celestial essence and even the spiritual consciousness within his starry sky's sea of consciousness. It was just like a movie reel. Although it was a series of stills, it made the senses feel as if the character was moving. A month later, Ning Cheng honestly took out the axe that Tang Yu had given him and started to dig one ice step after another. With a sigh, Shen Qinyu left a few lines of words on the ice steps before slowly climbing up. If she missed the opportunity to get out and continued to stay in this place, she would only be waiting for death. Shen Qinyu looked up, but she could no longer see the top of the canyon. Above her head, one by one, were the ice steps dug out. Shen Qinyu knew that this glacial canyon could not be reached by flying, one could only climb up step by step. If one wanted to climb up, there was no other way but to use the ice steps. With this move, the opponent would feel as if they were facing the sunset's twilight. Apart from despair and waiting for death, there was no other way. He finally had the third spear, dusk. Shen Qinyu stopped digging the ice steps. She seemed to have vaguely heard a burst of whistling sounds. Was it that wanderer? However, what she heard was not very clear. She immediately understood that it was just an illusion. Even if she could resist the cold in this place, after digging the ice steps for several years, her body had become extremely weak. His spear just now had clearly illustrated the stillness of time. He had compressed time to the extreme and then blasted out a move that contained the laws of time. This would become his most powerful killing move, and also his greatest trump card. While digging the first ice step, Shen Qinyu still shivered from the cold. She used the method taught by Ning Cheng to dispel the cold, while at the same time using her celestial essence to dig the ice steps. After a month, she unexpectedly adapted to the cold. Although it got colder the further down she went, she managed to resist it. Catcha! The Nirvana spear tore through the space in front of her, leaving behind a faint afterimage. Chapter 550. Ruan Mingshu also looked around. She knew that Ning Cheng had fallen in the perpetual moon lake, but she still hoped that Ning Cheng could come out. In her mind, if not for her, Ning Cheng would not have fallen. He would not have even entered the time mystic realm. Apparently, the miracle did not happen, and Ning Cheng did not come out. Senior apprentice Sister Mingshu, I heard that Ning Cheng teamed up with you. Why don't I see him? A crisp voice asked. Shen Qinyu, who was still feeling sad, heard this sentence. She knew that it was Tang Yu, a genius with a high status in the striking order Starry Skies. Ruan Mingshu gave out a sigh. It's my fault. I invited him to the Perpetual Moon Lake, but the Perpetual Moon Lake's time will shattered. He did not have time to come out. Tang Yu spoke with some regret. That's a pity. He was a good fellow. Shen Qinyu immediately recalled Ning Cheng. It turns out that Ning Cheng had fallen in the Perpetual Moon Lake. No wonder he did not reply to her message. She then thought of Wanderer, a cultivator without a celestial wheel like Ning Cheng. One fell in the Perpetual Moon Lake, while the other fell in the Sea of Twilight. Striking Order Heavenly Emperor's figure turned from blurry to clear. Although only half of the cultivators came out, he still felt satisfied. He glanced at the cultivators on the void public square and spoke in a slow voice, "Welcome back to our Striking Order Starry Skies Genius Trial. Those who can stand here today are the geniuses of my Striking Order Starry Skies. You will be the future of my Striking Order Starry Skies and the pride of my Striking Order Starry Skies. My Striking Order Starry Skies will select a batch of outstanding geniuses to reward them. There is no limit to the number of winners. As long as you obtain a time stone, you will receive a reward from my Striking Order Starry Skies. The top 10 can represent my Striking Order Starry Skies to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies and participate in the upcoming Starry Skies Universe's Celestial Scryer Genius Finals." Every cultivator who obtained a time stone immediately came forward to hand over the time stones. No one dared to hide their time stones. Even if someone wanted to hide their time stones, when the sharp spiritual consciousness fell on them, they would quickly come forward and hand over their time stones. Although many cultivators entered the time wilderness, only a few managed to obtain time stones. Shen Qinyu did not hand over her time stones. Instead, she came out to take these time stones back. In just an hour, all the cultivators with time stones in their possession were tabulated. A total of 31 cultivators managed to obtain time stones, including several cultivators who only managed to obtain a few rice grain-sized time stones. A heaven-seated cultivator stood in the void and read aloud, "First place goes to Bright South Celestial Rivers Tsin Fei, who obtained 4 time stones. Second place goes to Striking Order Starland Si Ko Hao, who obtained 3 time stones. Third place goes to Striking Order Starland's Tang Yu, who obtained 3 time stones." Looking at the time stones obtained by the top 10, whether it was in terms of size or quantity, Shen Qinyu could not help but give out a sigh. Ning Cheng didn't continue digging the ice steps. After comprehending the laws of time-related spirit technique, dusk, he sat still and continued to comprehend the essence of this spear. The more he comprehended, the more he understood that if he didn't have the starry sky sea of consciousness, even if he touched the surface of the laws of time, he wouldn't be able to bring out the dusk spear. The starry sky sea of consciousness was simply too powerful. Within the sea of twilight, one couldn't release one's spiritual consciousness. However, he could not only release it, but it could also reach a distance of 100 miles. Shen Qinyu originally couldn't release her spiritual consciousness. However, because he carried her on his back, she managed to comprehend his epiphany, allowing her to extend her spiritual consciousness to a distance of about 10 feet. Thinking of Shen Qinyu, Ning Cheng couldn't help but think of her perfect naked body and that beautiful face. Previously, when he had just comprehended the true meaning of dusk, Shen Qinyu's beauty had forcibly faded away under his shocking insights. Now that his third spear move had taken shape, he couldn't help but feel a little hot in his heart when he thought of that perfect body. Ning Cheng shook his head and forcibly put these thoughts aside before returning to the spear. After a long time, when Ning Cheng's spiritual consciousness and celestial essence fully recovered, he once again brought out the Nirvana spear and shot out with it. This time, he felt the stillness around him even more clearly. No, it should be said that after he brought out the spear, everything around him turned still. At this moment, there was no sound, no movement, no breathing. Suddenly, Ning Cheng saw a drop of crystal-clear liquid in the still time vortex funnel. It seemed to be the condensation of all life, exuding a strong vitality in a faint glow of dawn. Within the time vortex storm, Ning Cheng unexpectedly saw a drop of something exuding a life force, which surprised Ning Cheng. The state he had entered a moment ago instantly disappeared. Ning Cheng could not fully display the dusk spirit technique before it dissipated. Ning Cheng did not feel any frustration because he failed to bring out the dusk spirit technique for the second time. Instead, he started to think about that drop of water that exuded a strong vitality. What was it? Or was it some kind of treasure? Because he had brought out the dusk spirit technique for the second time and failed midway, he did not lose too much of his celestial essence. After a short rest, Ning Cheng brought out the Nirvana spear for the third time. This time, Ning Cheng was prepared. The moment everything around him came to a standstill, he raised his hand and gathered the droplet of water that looked like the morning glow and put it into a jade bottle in his hand. A faint fragrance exuded from this droplet of water, mixed with powerful fluctuations of vitality. At the same time, an icy chill permeated out from this droplet of water. In addition to the vitality, the icy chill and the fragrance, this droplet of water also exuded a rich aura of dawn. It felt as if one was facing the rising sun, full of vitality. Ning Cheng just felt this rich aura of vitality and felt that a part of his lost lifespan had returned. This is the glimmer of dawn ice essence, Ning Cheng understood in an instant, causing him to feel pleasantly surprised. At this moment, he felt extremely grateful towards Shen Qinyu. If not for Shen Qinyu, he would not have known about the twilight sand or the glimmer of dawn ice essence. He did not know if Shen Qinyu had taken the transfer array or not, but if she did, then he would definitely send her a drop of the glimmer of dawn ice essence in the future as a token of gratitude. After carefully placing a restriction on the jade bottle, Ning Cheng began to gather his celestial essence and spiritual consciousness and continuously cast the dusk spirit technique. Then, he started to collect the glimmer of dawn ice essence from the still time vortex storm. No wonder Shen Qinyu said that this thing only existed in legends. If not for his superficial understanding of the laws of time and his dusk spirit technique, even if he knew about the existence of the glimmer of dawn ice essence in this time vortex storm, he would not have been able to obtain it. However, since this kind of thing had spread out, it meant that someone had obtained it through the laws of time. A month later, no matter how Ning Cheng cast the dusk spirit technique, he could no longer find the glimmer of dawn ice essence from the time vortex storm. Ning Cheng didn't know if he had collected all the glimmer of dawn ice essence or if his cultivation only allowed him to see this much. But for Ning Cheng, he felt very satisfied. In just 1 month, he obtained 9 drops of glimmer of dawn ice essence. After carefully putting the 9 drops of glimmer of dawn ice essence into the jade bottle and sealing it with a restriction, Ning Cheng continued to dig the ice steps. He was not in a hurry to restore his skin and hair. For him, his current appearance was the best mask-type weapon. Because of his superficial understanding of the laws of time, Ning Cheng's speed of digging the ice steps in the Time Glacier Canyon rapidly increased. In just 1 month, Ning Cheng felt that he had escaped from the range of the time vortex storm. When he could no longer feel the surrounding time vortex storm, Ning Cheng gave out a long sigh. Could he finally use the twin wings of the heavenly clouds? Ning Cheng looked up and was just about to wield the twin wings of the heavenly clouds when he was shocked to find that one ice step after another had appeared above his head. These ice steps were similar to the ice steps he had dug before, but from the top to the bottom. Who dug these ice steps? Was it Shen Qinyu? Ning Cheng quickly understood that these were indeed the ice steps dug by Shen Qinyu. His divine sense clearly saw that there was a line of words next to the ice step closest to him. Qing spent several years digging 7,542 ice steps in hopes of finding Brother Wanderer. However, 10 years have passed, and Qing returned in disappointment and frustration. Qing hereby swears that I will come back to this place again in my lifetime and take away Elder Brother Wanderer, regardless of life or death. Ning Cheng felt a warm feeling in his heart. This Qing should be Shen Qinyu. Since Shen Qinyu had disguised herself as a cultivator from the Orchid Burrow Celestial River to enter the Time Wilderness, she most likely would not use her real name. However, after he sent her to the transfer array, not only did she not try to escape, but instead spent several years digging ice steps to find him. Shen Qinyu digging ice steps in this place was different from him. Although he had the twin wings of the heavenly clouds to save him, Shen Qinyu had no chance of survival in this place once she fell. One could say that Shen Qinyu had spent the past few years digging ice steps for him on the edge of life and death. Although she looked very rational, she was actually an impulsive woman. Ning Qing did not think that Shen Qinyu was a rational person. Shen Qinyu had been with him for a few years, and no matter how many times she was offended, she always maintained a calm tone and a plain expression, never once hysterical. However, this woman actually spent several years, risking the danger of falling to her death at any time, to dig ice steps in this time ice valley to save him. If this was not impulsive, then what was? Ning Qing knew that Shen Qinyu would not be able to return to this place no matter how much she vowed. With Shen Qinyu's cultivation, she would definitely advance to the Celestial Bridge realm after returning. If Celestial Bridge cultivators could enter the Time Wilderness, then why didn't any Celestial Bridge cultivators come this time? Shen Qinyu definitely did not think of this. Thinking of this, Ning Qing gave up on the idea of flying up and sped up his hands. In just a short time, he dug out more than a dozen ice steps and connected them to Shen Qinyu's ice steps. Ning Qing took out a sword artifact and added a sentence to Shen Qinyu's message, "Thank you for the ice steps, it saved me a few years of time. I have already dug out the rest of the path. From now on, this path will be known as the Ladder of Life. Maybe one day, someone will be able to set foot on the ice steps we dug, wanderers. By the way, you look really beautiful without clothes. That's all, I'll have to pay my respects." Although trapped for several years, Ning Qing had obtained twilight sand and glimmers of dawn ice essence. Most importantly, he had comprehended the dusk spiritual technique, which made him feel very happy. Feeling happy, coupled with knowing that Shen Qinyu would not come here again, his message turned into a mess. Chapter 551. Once again standing outside the round altar's teleportation array, Ning Qing sighed in his heart. He did not expect that once he fell, it would take him a few years to climb back up. Ning Qing guessed that 10 years should have passed by now. Most likely, he was still inside the Sea of Twilight. Regardless of whether he would be teleported out or not, Ning Qing did not want to stay in this damned place. Taking off his Dao artifact mask, Ning Qing gave out a sigh. He did not need to wear a mask at all, instead, he looked like an old man. If not for an acquaintance, most people would not have thought that he was Ning Qing even if they saw him. After changing his aura, Ning Qing carefully placed the miniature world ring into the 5 elements array formation inside the mysterious yellow bead before stepping onto the teleportation array. With a flash of spatial light, Ning Qing landed on the periphery of the Sea of Twilight. Ning Qing had just breathed a sigh of relief, but before he could check his surroundings, another flash of white light appeared. When his feet touched the ground, he found himself in the middle of a starry sky. There was not a single person around. Ning Qing took a glance and realized that this was the place where he had entered the Time Wilderness. He did not expect that he would still be teleported out despite the delay. Ning Qing did not stay in this place for long. He quickly brought out his Celestial River battleship and left at the fastest speed. A few days later, Ning Qing once again entered Striking Order Star Land and arrived at Lucky Heaven City. The reason why he came here again was to go to Grand Culmination Starry Skies. Compared to 10 years ago, Lucky Heaven City seemed to have a lot fewer people. Ning Qing, an old celestial shatterer cultivator, would not attract any attention in this place. Ning Qing did not look for a rest stop and went directly to Lucky Heaven City's Striking Order Starry Skies Trade Union. "Friend, do you want to inquire about information, or do you want to team up and make a fortune? Or is it something else? I can help you with it." Ning Qing had not yet entered the trade union when a small voice fell into his ears. Ning Cheng's gaze swept over and saw a very unremarkable celestial novice middle-aged man sitting not far from the wall. The celestial novice middle-aged man saw Ning Cheng's gaze sweeping over and waved his hand, indicating that he was the one who sent the voice. Ning Cheng walked over. Lucky Heaven City was a safe place, and there was absolutely no chance of a sneak attack. Moreover, the other party was just a celestial novice cultivator, which he did not care about. Ning Cheng understood the words spoken by this middle-aged celestial novice cultivator. This was equivalent to a black intermediary, fishing for some business outside the guild and surviving in the cracks. However, Ning Cheng did not care about it. He wanted to go to Grand Culmination Starry Skies, so it would not be a good idea to inquire about information through the guild. It's just that he did not know many people here. This celestial novice cultivator on seeing Ning Cheng come over felt even more happy and was about to stand up. Ning Cheng waved his hand, not waiting for him to stand up, he took the initiative to sit down not far from him, and asked, "What you just said, can you do it here?" The middle-aged man immediately affirmed, "Of course. Moreover, our fees here are more reasonable than the guild's, and the duration is shorter. Do you know that you have to ask a question to enter the guild and ask the guild to do something for you? Other than waiting, what else can you do?" That's right, the amount of star coins he received was quite a lot. "Friend, we are much more reliable than the guild." Ning Cheng asked in a non-committal manner, "Do you know what happened after the time wilderness ended?" "Because I just arrived at Lucky Heaven City, I haven't had the time to inquire about a lot of information, so I'm preparing to go to the guild." The middle-aged man showed a smile and did not answer Ning Cheng's question. Instead, he asked, "Did you go to the guild just to inquire about this information?" Ning Cheng understood the meaning of the other party and took out 200 green coins and put it in the man's hand without answering his question. The middle-aged man initially thought that Ning Cheng would not be able to get much profit out of it. He did not expect that Ning Cheng would give him 200 green coins just for asking a question. He did not hesitate to put away the 200 green coins and carefully spoke. The Time Wilderness trial ended more than a month ago, and the Heavenly Emperor selected the top 10 to enter the Grand Culmination Starry Skies for the finals. The top 10 are. Ning Cheng stopped the middle-aged man and asked, "When will they leave?" "How do they leave?" "Naturally, they will take a Starry Sky class battleship. I heard that they would have to pass through the void of several interfaces to reach the Grand Culmination Starry Skies, which is not a simple matter. This time, many people are going to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies. In addition to the many merchants and celestial river kings, I heard that our Heavenly Emperor will also be going in person. As for when they will leave, I don't know yet." The middle-aged man answered in a very detailed manner. Ning Cheng sighed, "I wanted to go to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies, but it looks like it would be difficult to get a ticket." "What? You want to go to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies?" The middle-aged celestial novice cultivator felt shocked by Ning Cheng's words. It did not matter. It would not be easy for a celestial shatterer cultivator to go to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies. "That's right, I want to go to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies. That's why I want to go to the guild." "Can you do it?" "Therefore, even if you called me here, it would be useless." Ning Cheng spoke and stood up. The middle-aged celestial novice cultivator quickly stood up and spoke through clenched teeth, "Senior, if you really want to go to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies, we do have a way. It's just that I need to report it, and the price might not be low. Moreover, you need to pay me 100,000 green coins as a reporting fee in advance. If you don't believe me, you can come with me." Feeling that Ning Cheng was not an ordinary celestial shatterer cultivator, this celestial novice cultivator's tone turned respectful. Ning Cheng waved his hand and directly placed a stack of green coins in the hands of the middle-aged celestial novice cultivator. "This is 100,000 green coins. As long as you can help me get a ticket to the Grand Culmination Starry Skies, what are some celestial coins? Even if you lie to me, I have a way to pull you out." The middle-aged celestial novice cultivator excitedly grabbed the 100,000 green coins. Ning Cheng's generosity was beyond his expectations. Without waiting for Ning Cheng to say anything else, he patted his chest and guaranteed, "Senior, you can rest assured that I will definitely give you an answer within 3 days. This is my communication talisman. If there is any news, I will send a message to Senior." "Okay, then I will wait for you for 3 days. If you can send me a message within 3 days, then we will meet here." After Ning Cheng finished, he did not wait for the celestial novice cultivator to answer and turned around to leave, leaving behind the excited celestial novice cultivator. Ning Cheng had not gone far, when he felt a spiritual consciousness staring at him. Moreover, this spiritual consciousness was also repeatedly probing him, which made Ning Cheng feel very puzzled in his heart. He had 2 enemies in the Lucky Heaven City, but whether it was Zhao Yanxiang or Lu Pingchuan, it was impossible for them to recognize him. Besides, he had fallen in the perpetual moon lake, which Zhao Yanxiang had personally witnessed. Since Zhao Yanxiang knew about it, then Lu Pingchuan definitely knew about it as well. If that was the case, then who would have any killing intent towards him? Ning Cheng did not use his spiritual consciousness to sweep back. His strength was still too low, and he did not want to alert the enemy in Lucky Heaven City. Just as Ning Cheng was anxiously trying to think of a way, a figure quickly rushed in front of him, while a crisp voice emerged, "Wait." At this moment, Ning Cheng immediately recognized who this person was. It was the woman named Yuan. This woman's cousin, her dual cultivation Dao companion, Yui Feng, had died at his hands. When this woman escaped, Shen Qinyu had explained to him that the Yu clan was very powerful in the Dao of talismans and would not let him go so easily. Ning Cheng did not expect this woman to come to his door so quickly, however, he did not know how she recognized him. In any case, Ning Cheng did not want to meet this woman. He quickly circled around her and quickened his pace. "You stop." Seeing Ning Cheng ignoring her, Yuan shouted out even louder and sped up to catch up with him. Ning Cheng secretly cursed at his bad luck. He had just come out when he encountered such a thing. Once he started fighting with this woman, even people who were not familiar with him might recognize him as Ning Cheng. He had clearly died in the perpetual moon lake, yet now he appeared in Lucky Heaven City. It would be strange if he did not have any secrets on him. As a cultivator who came out a month or 2 late, Heavenly Emperor Manluan would definitely talk to him alone. Seeing Yuan chasing after him, Ning Cheng knew that today's matter would not end well. He guessed that Yuan did not recognize him at first, but Ning Cheng knew that since the other party already suspected him, not recognizing him would not make any difference. Thinking of this, Ning Cheng did not hesitate to rush out of Lucky Heaven City. Since there was no way to settle this peacefully, then he would silence her. Ning Cheng had his own principles, however, no matter who wanted his life, he would not hesitate to fight back. Seeing Ning Cheng leave the city, Yuan raised her hand and sent out a message before following him out. After Ning Cheng left Lucky Heaven City, he directly brought out the Celestial River battleship. If this woman dared to chase after him alone, then she could not blame him for being impolite. Yuan did not continue to chase after Ning Cheng, she did not dare to chase after Ning Cheng alone. In just a few breaths, a gray shadow landed beside Yuan. "Big brother Huangfu, why are you alone? Where's Uncle Shang?" Yuan asked anxiously when she saw the man wearing a gray cultivator's robe. The cultivator smiled, "I saw Sister Wan's urgent message and thought that something bad had happened, so I rushed over." "What happened? Why did you ask Uncle Shang to come over?" Yuan spoke up anxiously, "Big brother Huangfu, I just saw a white-haired cultivator. His back and hair look very similar to that beast in the Time Wilderness. Is that the fellow who killed Yifeng?" The male cultivator, addressed as Big Brother Huangfu by Yuan, asked anxiously with a change in expression. Yuan quickly spoke up, "I suspect that the person just now was him, otherwise, he would not have run away the moment he saw me." "Then what are we waiting for? Let's catch up and kill him. The male cultivator raised his hand and brought out a Celestial River-class battleship. However, the grade of this battleship was much better than Ning Cheng's. Yuan spoke up anxiously, but there are only two of us. Ha! The male cultivator laughed. Didn't you say that he only had a Celestial Shatterer cultivation last time? A Celestial Shatterer cultivation is not something that I, Yu Huangfu, would put in my eyes. Yuan felt anxious about Ning Cheng's escape. Thinking of the fact that Big Brother Huangfu was Yu Clan's Celestial Scryer Premier Genius, someone many times stronger than Yue Feng, she nodded and spoke, "Okay, then let's hurry over." It was no wonder that Yu Huangfu dared to speak such words. With his half-step Celestial Bridge cultivation, he could be considered as the premier person under the Celestial River realm. He was the most important target of cultivation for the Yu clan. He did not even put Striking Order Starry Sky's premier genius, Sun Fei, in his eyes. In his opinion, Ning Cheng only had a trivial Celestial Shatterer cultivation. He did not even need to use his full strength to kill him. Chapter 552. After half a day, Ning Cheng finally stopped. He could see that even if he continued to use the Celestial River-class battleship, he would not be able to escape. The quality of the battleship chasing after him was much better than his own. Secondly, he wanted to see if he could kill the person chasing after him. If he could, he would not hesitate. If he really couldn't kill it, then he would immediately leave Striking Order Starland and go to another Celestial River. Ning Cheng had heard from Shen Qinyu that the Yu clan was a talisman aristocratic family, which enjoyed the support of Striking Order Heavenly Emperor in the Striking Order Starland. Once he was exposed, staying here wouldn't do him any good. For such a famous Starry Sky family, he would try his best not to provoke them. No wonder you dared to kill my Yu clan's people. You really have guts. Yu Huangfu did not expect that Ning Cheng would dare to stop and wait for him. Moreover, Ning Cheng truly was just a Celestial Shatterer cultivator. Ning Cheng looked at Yu Huangfu putting away the Celestial River-class battleship and spoke up with a calm tone, "Is your Yu clan that great? However, your Celestial River-class battleship looks good. It doesn't look like a knockoff." Although he did not care about it on the surface, Ning Cheng's mind was firmly locked onto Yu Huangfu. Yu Huangfu was tall and slender, even taller than him. His eyes were filled with disdain and killing intent. With the cultivation of full-circle Celestial Gatherer realm, the Celestial wheels seemed to be showing signs of fusing, indicating that he should be a half-step into the Celestial Bridge realm. If it was before entering the Sea of Twilight, Ning Cheng felt sure that he would not be a match for Yu Huangfu. At this time, he would have to run as far as he could. Now that he had comprehended the Dusk Spirit technique, and his domain had merged with the Celestial River, he no longer felt afraid of Yu Huangfu. As for Yuan, Ning Cheng simply did not put her in his eyes. Not bad. Unfortunately, you can only look at it once. That's because you've met me, Yu Huangfu. Yu Huangfu sneered, then gave Yuan a meaningful glance. He wanted Yuan to help him block Ning Cheng's escape route. As he spoke the last word, Yu Huangfu's imposing aura suddenly rose up, just like a huge millstone crushing down on Ning Cheng. The surrounding space formed a vortex under this imposing aura, while Ning Cheng found himself at the center of this vortex. Just as this maelstrom's imposing aura crushed down on Ning Cheng, two more silver-colored talismans appeared in Yu Huangfu's hands. It was the first time for Ning Cheng to see someone using a talisman as a magical weapon. Other people's talismans were disposable, or something that could only be used once. However, this Yu family cultivator had actually refined his own magic treasure into the shape of a talisman. Ning Cheng was sure that the talisman in his hands was not a one-time use item, but a real magical weapon. With the pressure of the imposing aura from the whirlpool, Ning Cheng even found it difficult to breathe. What a powerful Celestial Gatherer cultivator. Ning Cheng felt sure that this was the most powerful Celestial Gatherer cultivator he had ever seen. Moreover, The aura of this violent whirlpool domain had allowed the opponent to occupy a superior position as soon as he arrived. Ning Qing secretly felt shocked in his heart. The vast starry skies truly were filled with powerhouses. In the past, he wouldn't have been able to resist such a maelstrom domain. Sure enough, one had to meet all kinds of experts to see all kinds of killer moves. Just as Yu Huangfu's maelstrom domain crazily rolled up, Ning Cheng's celestial river fusion domain also fully stretched out at this moment. Although his cultivation wasn't as high as Yu Huangfu's, his sea of consciousness was many times stronger than Yu Huangfu's. When Yu Huangfu's maelstrom domain first stretched out, it gave off a crushing imposing aura. However, after Ning Cheng's celestial river domain stretched out, his domain immediately slowed down. Even the crazily rotating imposing aura of the maelstrom domain ended up suppressed. Bursts of ka-ka sounds erupted from the imposing aura of the maelstrom domain, just like dry bamboo thrown into a bonfire. Yu Huangfu's imposing aura rose once again, and he spoke with an ice-cold tone, "No wonder you're so arrogant. You even have such a powerful domain. Even if your domain is more powerful, so what if you met me, Yu Huangfu? Die for me." As he spoke, the talisman weapon in his hand transformed into two rays of light. One of the rays of light erupted with a thunderous explosion, as if it had exploded from the bottom of one's heart. In an instant, endless lightning arcs came crashing down. These lightning arcs seemed to have eyes and shot towards Ning Cheng without wasting even the slightest bit of them. The other ray of light transformed into a pale blue light not much bigger than an embroidery needle. This pale blue light, mixed with the endless lightning arcs, stabbed towards Ning Cheng. If it were a cultivator with a weaker spiritual consciousness, they would not be able to detect it at all. If the endless lightning arcs had to tear apart Ning Cheng's celestial river domain to pose a threat to Ning Cheng, then this embroidery needle mixed with the lightning arcs did not show even half a shred of resistance. It directly broke through Ning Cheng's celestial river domain and stabbed towards Ning Cheng's dantian. "Want to sneak up on me? Dream on." Ning Cheng laughed. He opened his hand, and the treasured thunder spear appeared in his hand. At the same time, he shot out a spear. Ning Cheng's spear did not care about the endless lightning arcs but directly shot towards the embroidery needle formed from the talisman. Yu Huangfu's face turned ugly. He was a half-step celestial bridge cultivator. Did he need to sneak up on a celestial shatterer cultivator to kill a celestial shatterer cultivator? The offensive form of his talisman could transform into an embroidery needle, which had nothing to do with sneak attacks. When the treasured thunder spear had just stabbed out, it seemed to contain lightning arcs lingering around it. However, after the spear shot out, it turned into a fiery pattern that was invisible to the naked eye. These fiery patterns seemed to be able to burn through the surrounding space, while the murderous intent of the spear grew stronger and stronger. Boom! The treasured thunder spear split apart the imposing aura of Yu Huangfu's maelstrom domain and directly collided with the embroidery needle formed from his talisman artifact, causing bursts of fiery patterns to erupt. The space, which originally contained only lightning arcs, instantly filled with these fiery patterns, looking just like fireworks blooming in the sky. Ning Cheng's nothingness flame pattern spear blasted away the embroidery needle, but the fiery patterns of the nothingness flame pattern spear still did not disappear. Instead, it directly broke through the two people's domains and shot towards Yuan. Yuan hurriedly brought out a shield to block it. Even so, she still ended up in a sorry state. Yu Huangfu stared at Ning Cheng in shock. He was not shocked that Ning Cheng's spear broke his talisman phantom, nor that Ning Cheng's powerful celestial river domain blocked his maelstrom's killing power. He was not shocked that Ning Cheng's nothingness flame pattern spear was even more powerful than his talisman phantom. What shocked him was that Ning Cheng did not care about the other talisman that shot out endless lightning arcs. What was going on here? Was he courting death? Even a cultivator in the celestial bridge realm would not dare to ignore such a terrifying lightning arc attack. Whether Ning Cheng was courting death or not, he quickly understood. Although the endless lightning arcs bombarded Ning Cheng's body, Ning Cheng not only did not die, but instead gave a loud roar, causing his imposing aura to soar once again. At the same time, the treasured thunder spear in his hand started to glow with lightning. Your main spiritual root turns out to be a thunder spiritual root. Yu Huangfu cried out in shock. Cultivators with thunder spiritual roots were always in short supply, and it was even easier for them to enter a sect. Moreover, once a cultivator with such a spiritual root reached a certain level of cultivation, their strength would turn out to be much stronger compared to cultivators with other spiritual roots. Ning Cheng, in the face of his illusionary thunder talisman artifact, remained indifferent. Apart from his slightly messy hair and robes, he could even raise his imposing aura. Apparently, he was a fellow with a thunder spiritual root. Sister Wan, let's go together. Yu Huangfu no longer dared to look down on Ning Cheng. After saying that, he raised his hand, and a huge rusty copper coin suspended over his head. Ning Cheng instantly caught a familiar aura, causing Ning Cheng to stare at the rusty copper coin with wide eyes. Suddenly, he screamed out, "5 elements treasure fall copper coin." Yu Huangfu laughed, "You're not blind, ah. You can even recognize that this is the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin." Ning Cheng felt cold all over, and could not even speak. At this moment, he felt as if he had been nailed to the ground. He had given the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin to his wife, Shi Qianghua. How could it appear here? Why? Why? After Yuan heard Yu Huangfu's words, she immediately brought out a sword artifact in her hand. She knew that her cultivation was far from Ning Cheng's, and she did not expect to kill Ning Cheng. She just wanted to interfere with Ning Cheng and help Yu Huangfu. Poof! What shocked Yuan the most was that her sword artifact actually tore through Ning Cheng's celestial river domain and directly pierced through Ning Cheng's shoulder. Ah! Yuan looked at the result of her battle in surprise. She had never thought that her sword would have such an effect. If she had known about it earlier, she would have directly pierced through Ning Cheng's glabella. Yu Huangfu also did not expect that Yuan would be able to injure Ning Cheng with just one move, causing him to feel equally happy in his heart. No matter what happened, now was the best time to kill Ning Cheng. At this moment, Ning Cheng's imposing aura suddenly skyrocketed. He once again gave out a tearing roar, while the treasured thunder spear in his hand turned into an invisible spear mark. This spear mark seemed to have come from the distant horizon, but it directly tore through the horizon and the space in front of him. There was simply no way to resist it. The powerful murderous aura of the spear intent completely bound Yuan. Yuan could not even move a muscle. She could only look at the spear's shadow approaching from afar in horror. "Save me!" Yuan screamed out, however, she could not even utter a single sound. The power of this spear had swept up all the killing power from the horizon to the front. This killing power had long since suppressed her mind. Poof! A mist of blood spurted out. Yuan looked at the shocked Yu Huangfu not far away in despair before collapsing to the ground. Yu Huangfu truly felt shocked. He had felt a powerful killing intent from Ning Cheng's spear that had killed Yuan, something he had never seen before. He had also felt a terrifying killing power from the spear intent. When that spear had blasted out, he had actually wanted to escape in a crazed manner. It was not until the spear had killed Yuan that this thought of his weakened. Such a powerful spear intent. Yu Huangfu stared at Ning Cheng in shock. He no longer had that sense of superiority that he had a moment ago. "Speak, where did you get the 5 elements treasure fall copper coin? If you don't explain it clearly, I will make sure that not even an ant remains of your Yu clan remains." Ning Cheng completely ignored the sword piercing through his body and walked towards Yu Huangfu step by step. His voice was hoarse, and even his eyes had turned blood red. Yu Huangfu subconsciously took a few steps back and was just about to answer when he understood why he should answer. The other party was just a celestial shatterer cultivator, while he had the treasure fall copper coin and an endless supply of talismans. Why should he fear him? You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.